The Book of Heaven. Volume 31. My most sweet Jesus, my heavenly Master, take my little soul into your hands and, if you will, continue your divine lessons about your will. I feel the extreme need to be nourished by your word. It was you yourself who got me used to it and gave me this kind of life. You have made me live by you and your sweet word. Certainly, it was not I who formed this kind of existence. No, it is you, Jesus. So much so that I felt you more than I feel myself. When you remain silent, I feel that this life is broken and it is the hardest of martyrs. If you want to stop talking, I'm ready to tell you, Fiat. 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 But take pity on me and don't leave me alone and abandoned. I felt totally abandoned in the arms of the divine will. I aspired to nothing but heaven. It seems to me that I have nothing left to do but to end my life in the divine will on earth and to start it in heaven. Then my heavenly Jesus visited my poor soul and said to me, my little daughter of my will, you worry too much and I don't want to. I see you so overwhelmed in the midst of so many goods. This shows that you think more about yourself than about the goods that your Jesus has given you. It also shows that you haven't fully understood yet the gifts and goods that you have received from your Jesus. You need to know that every word is a gift and that it therefore contains a great good. Because my word has creative virtue. It is communicative and formative. When we pronounce it, it forms the new good to be given to the creature. So, I told you so many words that I have made known to you of truths and goods that I have given you. And these gifts contain divine goods, all distinct. Everything is in the word that comes out of us and in which is formed the good that we want to bring out. When this good comes out, it is certain that he will have his life in creatures. Because these goods are animated and formed by our creative power. They are preserved in our very word. To ensure the good we want to give, our word will shake heaven and earth. In order to give the fruit of the good it possesses. My daughter, you must also learn another amazing thing about our words. Suppose I speak to you of holiness. This word contains the gift of divine holiness, which must be done to the creature as far as possible for a creature. If I speak to you of divine goodness, my word contains the gift of goodness. If I speak of divine will, it contains the gift of our will. In short, what our word says about beauty, goodness, greatness, or holiness contains in this gift. Now listen to a gesture of our love stratagems. It's like we're not happy. Then when we form new inventions of love to give to creatures. Consequently, if our word says holiness, it is because we want to make the gift of our divine holiness in order to that the creature be on an equal footing with our holiness, and that it can compete with us. Oh! What a joy to see our divine holiness operating in the creature. If we hear the creature say, I feel the holiness of my Creator imbued in me. Oh! How happy I am to feel able to love Him with His holiness itself. Oh! Then our love becomes extreme and pours out on the creature. So exuberantly that it becomes excessive. In the same way, if our word says goodness and divine will, it is because we want to give our goodness and our divine will to that the creature can be on an equal footing with our goodness and will, and that she can support the competition with her Supreme Being. You cannot understand our immense joy when you see the creature endowed with our divine qualities of which our word was the bearer. It's our habit to talk to a creature. Our word is so fertile, powerful, and full of light that it becomes like the sun which, with a stroke of light, illuminates and makes everything and everyone benefit from its benefits. Why this worry when you see that your Jesus is using His word to add more and more gifts? And these gifts will come to life in you, but also in many other creatures. Because they have the generating force that gives and generates continuously. Our word is the fruit of our bowels. So she is our daughter. And as a daughter, she brings the good that has been generated by her father. So, instead of being overwhelmed, think instead of your Jesus and the new surprises he wants to make you with his divine words in order to be willing to receive such a good. I continued to think of the divine will, and my sweet Jesus added, my daughter. When the soul allows to be dominated, invested, and subjugated by my divine will, in every part of his being, whether of the soul or the body, my operative will is then in possession of everything. The spirit is then animated by the science of the divine will. The voice has it to talk about it. The hands possess it. The feet possess its divine steps. And the heart possesses its love. And how much my will knows how to love. Thus, everything is united and forms divine holiness in the creature, and we find all our rights in the creature. As everything is ours, we find the rights of creation, the rights of our holiness, of our works, the rights of our divine fiat, our goodness, and our love. Brief. There is nothing that belongs to us that we do not find, and which, therefore, is our right. And in exchange the creature finds its right in its creator. As the will of both is one, the rights of one are the rights of the other. Therefore, this is what it means to live in my will. It is to receive by right our holiness, our love, our science, and our goodness. We cannot give less, because they are the property of the creature in the same way that they are the property of our fiat. Because his life is already lived in our fiat. In addition, the one who lives in our will always grows in holiness, love, and beauty. As in anything else, this continual growth forms a new act that the creature can give to its creator. We give the creature the new act that we possess by nature, and the creature gives it to us by virtue of our will. And, oh, what satisfaction for both, what joy they feel! To be able to receive from the creature, and for us, to be able to give. Giving and receiving maintains the matching food, preserves the union that is always growing. It is like the breath that keeps the fire lit and the flame of love alive, without danger that they are extinguished. Therefore, is always moving forward in my will, and all will be well. Although I am under the weight of the privations of my most sweet Jesus, I am in the arms of the divine will. Without Jesus, the hours are centuries and the days interminable. And, oh, how I miss his gentle and kind presence, and I feel all the harshness of my long exile. But as I groan and sigh, the divine fiat pours its light on my suffering to relieve it. At the same time she makes me run in the eternal waves of her actions in order to unite them with her own and to become one. Ah! It seems that he does not even give me time to suffer from being deprived of the one I love so much. Its light imposes itself on everything, it eclipses and absorbs everything. It demands everything and does not allow you to waste time. Even in the holiest things, such as the deprivation of Jesus. I was swimming in a sea of pain when Jesus, my life, came in a lightning bolt that quickly disappeared. He visited my poor soul and said to me, 2. My good daughter, courage. Let yourself be led by the light of my divine will, it will convert your sadness, your suffering, and my deprivations in peace and divine conquests. The nature of its light eclipses, corroborates, strengthens, and wherever it goes, it takes strength and life away from pain. It transforms it into conquests and joys. Because the force of his light overcomes this pain and takes its place, other things lose their lives. If, in the face of the light of my divine will, the creature feels other effects and desires, it means that the soul does not have the fullness of its light and that my divine will does not reign completely in the soul. His domination is absolute and unconditional. He has the supreme right to absorb everything, to take the life of all other things. She converts everything into divine will. You must know that a beneficent dew descends upon the creature every time it performs an act in my will. That it retains its divine freshness and anesthetizes everything that does not belong to him. And, oh, that she is beautiful. Always fresh in his actions, in his love, and in his pain. In the hope of collecting the dew. To receive the opium that will convert sorrow into a sweet conquest of my divine will. Freshness makes both a person and a thing kind and attractive. Old things don't please anyone. That is why I love so much the one who lives in my divine will. Because I feel in it our divine freshness and our sweet sense. In short, it gives us what is ours. And I, your Jesus, enclose this beloved creature in my divine heart. I train it and make it grow only in my will. Thus, this group of children of my will be formed in my most holy heart. Like so many little queens, the children of the great King. 3. Continuing in my state of depression due to the deprivation of my sweet Jesus. I thought to myself. And although I am deprived of the one who is my very life, I feel a deep peace. I am not even afraid of losing him if it turns out that it is my fault that the heavenly Jesus deprives me of him. In my little soul I feel only the murmur of a quiet sea that repeats incessantly, I love you, my little I love you, who asks for nothing but the coming of the kingdom of your will on earth. And I form my waves, again and again, to free myself from my exile and storm heaven in order to enclose it in the heavenly fatherland. But in vain. My waves fall in vain into the sea while I continue to whisper, I love you. I love you. And at the same time I ask heaven and earth to ask you for your fiat. My mind was flinching. Then my immensely good Jesus hugged me. All tenderness, he said to me. 4. Little newsborn of my will. You seem to want to disturb yourself and I don't want to. I don't want storms in the sea of your soul. I only want eternal peace. Fears, worries, and doubts are storms. They prevent the continual whisper of your peaceful I love you, which must flow and whisper always to prevail over your Creator so that He sends His will to the earth to reign there. You must know that for the one who allows herself to be dominated by my will and lives in it, the evils no longer have a life. Nor the seed that gives rise to the fear of offending me, fears and disturbances. Body and soul remain confirmed in the good. They find themselves in the same conditions as the blessed who are no longer touched by evil. Evil no longer has life in them. Because in these celestial regions, in my will, evil, the forces of evil absolutely cannot enter. Thus, she who lives in my will can be called a citizen of heaven. And it acquires the rights thereto. And if it is on earth, it is as a lost citizen of the heavenly fatherland that my divine will has placed there, with a view to his great purpose and for the good of miserable humanity. But although she is on earth, she does not lose the rights of the citizens of the sky, nor that of living with the goods of the heavenly fatherland. And although she feels lost, she legitimately possesses heaven in her soul, in order to live not from the earth, but from heaven. Ah! Life in the divine will calls heaven to earth. His light written on the forehead in indelible letters. Eternal love, unshakable peace, confirmation of all goods, daughter of the Supreme Being. Consequently, I always want you in my will, that you may enjoy the goods of your heavenly fatherland, which are continual love, huge end. Divine will as the life of all the blessed. 1. I was thinking about the divine will and how all rights belong to the one who grants him the full empire, and how those whom others obtain out of pity and mercy, through the goodness of God, he obtains by right. He obtains holiness by right because what dominates him is holy and possesses the virtue of transforming body and soul into holiness, goodness, and love. Also, victories, conquests and rights are all his. And he besieges heaven as someone who possesses it. What a difference between the one who lives in the divine will and the one who lives by his human will. I was thinking about this when my adorable Jesus made his little visit to me again. He told me, "Blessed girl, the difference between one and the other is great and incalculable. He who does not live in my will is like the sun to those who are lazy. Although its rays clothe them with its light and warmth, they do nothing. They do not learn and they don't earn anything. The sunlight is for them made sterile, as they remain without doing anything. They get tired. They are disturbed by its light and they seek darkness as a rest for their unfortunate laziness. On the other hand, for those who work, the light is active. Is light for the eye to see everything it needs to do. For no matter how much light there may be outside the eye, if the eye does not have the light of life, the light that surrounds it will be useless. And if the eye does not have external light, having light as life in his eye will be of no use to him. My paternal kindness placed this union and harmony between the outer light of the creature and the light of his eye. One cannot act without the other. My will is light for the hands. If they want to work, if they want to write, read, etc. Thus the first active part of the creature is made by light. Without it, it would be almost impossible to be able to do a little good and to be able to earn a piece of bread to live. This is the light of my will for him who does not live in it. She shines and exists for all. But it does not operate and does not dominate in the act of the creature. For all its light, the creature remains lazy. She learns nothing from the divine and does not conquer anything. The most beautiful things are tiring and boring for this creature. The will that wants to live in mine is like an eye filled with light and who makes himself capable of uniting with the light of my will. As they agree, they perform great and prodigious works that astonish heaven and earth. Do you see what it means to live in my will? It's not being lazy. The little light of the soul in harmony with the light of the eternal Fiat makes it effective in the acts of Fiat and forms the inseparability between the two. A multitude of thoughts about the divine will continued to occupy my mind, and my heavenly Jesus added, 4. Blessed girl! My will produces light in the soul. Light in turn generates knowledge. Light and knowledge, in their mutual exchange of love, engender the love of God. Thus, wherever my supreme will reigns, the most holy Trinity also reigns in action. Our adorable divinity is brought by its very nature and in an irresistible way to generate continuously and without interruption. The first generating act is performed by us. The Father begets me continually and I, his Son, feel continually begotten in him. Heavenly Father begets and loves me, I am begotten, and I love him. From both proceeds love. This generative act that never ceases contains all our wonderful knowledge, our secrets, our beatitudes, all time, all our provisions, our power and our wisdom. All eternity is contained in a generative act that forms the unity of our divine being. Therefore, this reciprocal love that forms the third person of our supreme being, inseparable from us, is not satisfied with this generating act, but wants to generate outside of us in souls. And now this task is entrusted to our will, which, animated by our love, descends into souls and with its light forms our divine generation. But this can only be accomplished in those who live in our will. There is no place outside of our will to form our divine life. Our word would not find ears capable of listening. And without our knowledge, love would not find the substance with which to generate. Our Holy Trinity is then disordered in the creature. Therefore, only our will can form our divine generation. Also, be attentive and listen to what this light wants to tell you in order to give it the field of action of its generating act. I was doing my round in the acts of the divine will and, oh, how much I wanted to give him the exchange of my deeds. As I am too small and unable to perform acts equal to his own to exchange them, I come with my little I love you. Although he is small, Jesus wants him. He is waiting for him to tell me. The little newborn of my will has placed what is hers in our actions. Our deeds are no longer alone and they have the company of the one for whom they were created. It was and still is our will to give a field of action to the creature in our actions, to be able to say, let us love and act in one and only field. I thought, what is special about my little I love you for Jesus to love and want him so much? And my beloved Jesus, all goodness, said to me, little girl of my will, you must know. That I love you and that I am still waiting for it. I love you and never stop loving you, and if you stop your I love you I feel like I'm giving you my continual love and let you not return it to me. And my love feels like you stole it. On the other hand, when my I love you short end, find yours ready to be given and to receive my I love you. My love feels paid back. And there is no time lapse between my I love you and your I love you. There is a race, a competition of love between the creator and the creature. Also, when I see that you are about to say I love you, my will puts on your little I love you to make it great, and I find my love in yours. How can I not want to love him? My daughter, these are my usual ploys. I give in order to receive. This is my business. I love, I give love. Pour recevoir de l'amour, et. Sigene suis pas aimé. Monday commerce fate fail light. Et comme l'amour est ma passion. Jene me lasse jamma et. Jene regarde jamma en arrière. Je recommence et reprends Monday commerce. I have an abundance of stratagems and tenderness to renew my bankruptcy of love in the creature. Oh! If you knew! As my heart is wounded and how much he suffers. When I say I love you and that the creature does not hear the call of my love to receive his love. In addition, you must know that love is the blood of the soul. My will is life, in the natural order. Life cannot function without blood. And blood cannot circulate if it has no life. And one enjoys life according to the abundance of blood. It is the same in the supernatural order. My divine will cannot function without the blood of love. The more love there is, the stronger, healthier and more active it will be. Otherwise, she will suffer from anemia and could end up being deficient. Thus, when there is not enough blood of love, although it is life, my will is made sick and inactive in the soul. Because it lacks the blood of love to be able to function. All virtues are made anemic and patience, strength and holiness is wilted and converted into defects. That is why there is a lot of anemia in the world, because there is a lack of purity of the blood of my love and, as a result, the world is heading towards a terrible deficiency that will lead to the ruin of body and soul. That's why I love you so much and I want it. All my actions, in all things created, and in every act of creatures. In order to form enough blood to serve as an antidote and remedy for existing anemia. It will be the preparation of the kingdom of my divine will. That's why I feel the need for your love. It is true that it is small, but I do not see it as small or large. I see that it is given in the power of my will, which converts the smallest acts into very large acts. Coats them with such beauty that I am delighted. So, it's enough to do it just by knowing that I want it, that I love him, and that it makes me happy. I will see to make it big or small. And your I love you, I want it. In the beating of your heart. In the air you breathe. In the sun. The sky. In all things. Oh! How I would like to see your I love you invest. Heaven and the land. Creatures and the Creator. My little mind continues to expend itself in the divine will. It seems to me that I cannot exist without immersing myself in its waves to find in action what he did out of love for us. But in the midst of this immensity of love, my love groaned painfully because of the deprivation of my sweet Jesus. I feel his deep silence in my soul. Even if the air is very clean, the very clear sky and studded with twinkling stars of all colors and may a sun continually shine on my smallness so that everything in me may become divine will. Everything is peace and serenity. Not even the sound of a small breath of wind. All this is an effect and a characteristic of the eternal Fiat. And yet, I thought to myself, it seems to me that I miss the King. The one whose love is inexpressible. He who has done and ordained everything in me. And that I feel lonely because he is not there. But tell me, why did you leave me? Why don't you speak? And my dear Jesus, touched by my groans, took me in his arms and said, my daughter, don't be surprised. After working, I usually want to find rest among my works, which are more than a sweet bed, which lend themselves to the act of deep worship and who, in their silence, give me rest. Rest after work is the reward for work. It is pleasure and happiness that sacrifice knows how to give. Isn't that what I did in creation? I started by creating with my Fiat because our word is work. It is passage. She is everything. When all was accomplished and ordained, I found the most beautiful and sweetest rest. Our Supreme Being alternates between work and rest. Work calls for rest and rest calls us to work. Also, don't you want me to rest in your soul? Everything you see in yourself is nothing but the work of your Jesus. Every word I said to you was a work I was doing. By my word I formed in you a new creation, more beautiful than creation itself. Creation was to serve the body, while this new creation was to serve souls in order to give them the life of my will. If I didn't alternate between work and rest, it would be a sign that I didn't have the freedom to work in your soul with my creative power. I would then have continued my work until I got what I wanted, and then I would have rested. As long as I haven't finished a work, I don't rest. If after a rest I work again, it is because I undertake new works. Ne vertu pa kje me repose su ce seal saran, ces etoiles etc solile qui fait tu mercer moiset pluie de douces et rafraîchissants goods. Qui m invitant au repose par leurs du chance? Dans leur silence ils me descent, que tes oeuvres, ta volonté opérante et la puissance créatrice de la vie que tu nous as donné sont belles. Nous sommes tes oeuvres, repose-toi en nous, et nous formerons ta gloire et ton adoration perpétuelle. Ces douces paroles. Je me repose et me réveille en même temps. I preserve my work and I am preparing other works that I will accomplish. If only you knew what my first job is after my rest. I begin my work by saying to the creature a sweet I love you. I want to start my work again by giving my love, so that the creature, touched and delighted by the irresistible force of my love, may let me do an act in his soul. I ask him for sacrifices, always through love. My love invests her, makes her happy, absorbs her and intoxicates her. The intoxicated creature, intoxicated, lets me do whatever I want, even sacrificing his own life. Because my I love you out of the depths of my divinity contains the immensity that is everywhere, that is infinite. The power that can do everything. Wisdom that disposes of everything. Everything that exists feels the strength of my I love you. Everyone repeats it with me. Heaven repeats it with the whole celestial court. The stars say so and their flicker turns into I love you. The sun, the wind, the air, and the water say, I love you. Because having been said by me, my I love you resounded in everything and everywhere. Everything repeats it with me. At this moment, the creature feels in the rain of a huge I love you. And drowned in my love, she lets herself be done, without saying a word. And she lends herself to let me do the most beautiful works. The creature also feels the need to tell me I love you as well. She realizes that her I love you is too small in front of mine because she does not possess the weapons of immensity, power, and infinity. She does not want to stay behind and she uses the subterfuge of saying so in the power of my will. Oh! How it makes me happy! In addition, he encourages me to work, to repeat my I love you directly and specially. It is true that I love everyone. My love is there for everyone. But when I want to accomplish something exceptional, new works, special purposes, I add to my general love, a special and distinct love. This one, in addition to fascinating the creature, also serves me as a material, as a land where work and expand my works. Therefore, let me do it. I know when to work, talk, keep silent, and when to rest. Fiat. I am constantly immersed in the ocean of the divine will that spreads before me the entire creation. What a huge theater! Moving scenes clearly reveal God's great love for the creature and induce the heart to make it loved. I was thinking of the great human ingratitude that remains insensitive to his love and does not love him. Then my Jesus surprised me with his heart full of love, and he said to me, "My good daughter, our Supreme Being designed creation to give love and receive in exchange the love of creatures. Nothing was created that did not have this reason, to receive an exchange of love. Otherwise, our works would not have been communicative, fruitful, nourishing and filled with life to make man happy. They would have been like pleasant paintings to admire, which bring nothing to anyone. Whereas, by wanting this exchange, we communicated the light to him in order to give him the life of the light. The air to give it the life of the breath. Water, food, and fire in order to give him life and the goods they possess. And so on for everything else. How many acts of life we have placed around the creature, to make it grow, feed it and maintain its life. In fact, our love needed a return. Works that receive nothing are works without procession and without appreciation. No matter how much creatures may use them, they remain isolated and unappreciated works, as if they were not welcome. The creature, by his return, does not simply take the work to use it, but it enters into the interior to recognize the one who created it out of love. The exchange gives life to recognition, to gratitude. It can be said that exchange maintains communication, friendship, and correspondence between the one who makes the gift and the one who receives it. My daughter, listen to another facet of our immense love for man. In order to have this return, by creating man, we have placed in him our operating will united with his. In the act of creation, our will created out of love for him, so many things. In his soul he possessed the divine will. Thus man could have equal strength and give us the exchange we wanted. Our Fiat acted in creation and in the creature. He had to use the human will to use all these acts, big or small. This is to be able to form the right return of all these works made in creation. Especially since he knew the number, variety, beauty, and value of all our works. Our Fiat had to operate in the creature with the same multiplicity, sumptuousness, and beauty, with which he had created all things in the universe. In order to have the return of his external works, by his inner works, made in the depths of the soul, the divine will had to use the human will, as matter in its hands to continue its creation. That is why man, by rejecting our will, has stopped our operative life in his actions that our will would have used to transform them into heavens, stars, suns, seas, etc. He obstructed our work, he stopped it, he upset the sweet harmonies and the dear exchanges that could have existed by virtue of our will. We could have done everything in him if our will had had its operative strength in him. This is the reason for our haste, our sighs, our insistence and our sufferings, so that the land of man can become a field of action in which our will would have complete freedom to do what he wants. And do not think that only the Supreme Being wants exchange in his works. Because the first reason for his works is to also have the exchange for the creature. If this exchange is there, or if at least the desire for this exchange is present, the creature has hands and feet to move, a mouth to speak, a force for sacrifice and time to act. But if there is no exchange, the creature seems not to have hands, feet, mouth, strength, and time. She feels that the life of this work is dead. It seems that the exchange is nothing, but this is not true. On the contrary, it is the beginning and life of every work. Exchange is therefore a necessity for my love. And it allows me to continue the work of creation. I continued my abandonment in the divine Fiat. A flood of thoughts, doubts, and difficulties arose in my mind. My heavenly master added, "My daughter, my will has the virtue of centralizing the whole being of a man in an act. My will acts in the creature with its unifying virtue. It centralizes thoughts, heart, steps, and everything in such a way that the creature feels not only his actions, but also his whole being invested by his operating force. His actions feel the command of my operative will. Everything does only one thing. This unifying force makes the creature dominant and orderly. Because the first donation my Fiat makes is the one. Order and self-control. Thus, the creature takes his divine empire and becomes a malleable material in the hands of my will, and it lends itself to his wonderful works. On the contrary, without my will, the creature does not even possess the unifying force in its actions. Therefore, we see it scattered, in no order, and as a hardened material that does not take the form that our will wants to give it. Fiat. My little mind is always making its rounds, inside and outside the divine will. No matter how much I turn and turn, I never get tired. I feel a mysterious force pushing me and never telling me to stop. She said to me, courses. Seeks his actions. Love, adore, embrace, transform your actions into his own. And form your whole life in the divine will. And if I don't know what to say during my rounds, I tell my little story. I love you, I love you, I adore you, I bless you, O adorable will, in all your works. And since today is the birth of the Queen of Heaven, I stop to think about the great prodigy of her birth. Where heaven and earth were in adoration before this divine prodigy. My immense good, Jesus, with inexpressible love and tenderness, tells me, blessed daughter of my will. The birth of my heavenly mother encloses everything together. All the wonders, and all the wonders, do you know why? It was not only she who was born pure, holy, beautiful, and immaculate. No. With the heavenly child was born my divine will, already conceived and included in it to form its operating life and grow in this graceful child. My will was enclosed in order to be born with the heavenly creature. She used her body to operate and form her divine life. He was a prodigy that only eternal love, divine wisdom and power could operate. Not only a life was given, nor simply a gift to free it from the original stain. For our power, it would have been nothing. Which attracted everyone's attention and caused their amazement. But it is my will that was born with her in the world. So much so that heaven and earth were turned upside down. All were attentive. They felt a mysterious force. The very force that dominated and preserved all of creation. It was our will that gives movement to all things. She placed herself and all creation at the service and disposal of this newborn. That is why the birth of my will with her was the beginning that brought all the other wonders to be centralized in her. Where my Fiat reigns, there is no good that is not present. And there is no prodigy that is not accomplished. He wants manifest his love and power by forming his operative life and deposit it as much as it is possible for the creature to contain it. Therefore, admire and give thanks to our Supreme Being who has come to so much love for this newborn, that he has made our will, which has no beginning, no end, no limits, and was able to be reborn in it. I then followed the works of the divine will in all created things. My kind Jesus added, my daughter, the things created were made by us as so many ways offered to man to come to us. We have left all doors open so that at all times, if he wanted to come, he wouldn't have to knock or open them to come to us. Il-8 notre fils. Il-8 just et raisonnable chu il-8 touts les avenues ouvertes. Pour aller vers son Père Céleste et pour rester avec lui pour l'aimer et être aimé. Pour pouvoir demander en tant que fils des graces et des faveurs. Mais c'est tout ce que ces fils ingrats fait? Il lui-même ferme la voie. Il forme des barrières et ferme les portes avec le péché. Il rompu toute correspondance avec celui qui lui a donné sa vie. Veux-tu savoir qui revient ouvrir les portes et brûler les barrières? Quiconque aime et vit dans ma divine volonté. L'amour et monde fiat sont les forces puissantes qui brûlant et vident tout. Elles ouvrent toutes les avenues afin de ramener les fils dans les bras de son céleste Père. You should know that all virtues, good works. Love and life in my divine will form the nobility of man. But the substance of this nobility is the wealth of my grace. All good rests on her, which becomes the fountain and guardian of all the good that can be done. Otherwise, it can be said that man, although of noble origin, is without riches. Also, out of necessity, he sees himself committed acts, unworthy of his nobility. In fact, if someone is noble without being rich, he cannot dress like a nobleman or live in palaces. His nobility is thus reduced to a memory of his condition. Thus, for the one who does not possess the wealth of my grace, all good is reduced to sordid virtues. They make us see it often. Poor in patience, prayer, charity, and so on for all the other virtues. The good that is formed by my nobility is preserved by the richness of my grace. My will forms the king, which dominates and who, with divine mastery, governs and orders all things. My surrender into the divine will continues. I feel hidden by its eternal waves that embrace everything. Nothing escapes its immensity. Anyone who wants to find everything, embrace everything, and hear the history of everything must enter the sea of the supreme Fiat. My mind was lost in him. Then my sweet Jesus visited my little soul and said to me, "My blessed daughter, my will contains everything, or rather each creature has its written page on how its history and life should unfold. And this page is there, written from all eternity in the light of our will. The life of every creature had its beginning in time, but it had no beginning in our Supreme Being, and it was loved by us with a love without beginning or end. Creation did not yet exist that we loved the creature because it was already in us. In the temple of our divinity was included the birth of each creature. In each we saw its written page, the events, and its little history. And we loved the creature more intensely, according to what was written, and the way in which our most holy will was to be more or less fulfilled and glorified. You didn't exist yet, but our will contained you. With love, we gave you a place, a rest on our paternal knees. We gave you various lessons about our Fiat. And, oh, what a pleasure we had to see you listening and writing in your soul, as if to copy it, what was written in our eternal page. You must know that what we want the creature to do in our will is first done and formed by us in our will. Then, flowing out of us, my will wants to accomplish it and form it in the creature, and have its field of action for this divine activity. Our love is so great that we want the creature to do what we did and nothing else. We give her the model of our acts so that she can copy it. How much help and assistance we give her while she copies it. We give him our will as a personal act and first materials so that the copy comes out in accordance with our purpose. For anyone who does their own will, each of their actions only does ruin our design. Cancel what is written on our page. Each written word contained un amor special et eternal. Le développement de sa vie selon notre ressemblance, dans laquelle la creature devait inclure son histoire d'amour et l'accomplissement de la divine volonté envers son créateur. L'evolution humaine en fait que falsify this page. Reverse our likeness. Instead of forming a copy in the image of our lovingly written page, the creature forms its own written page. With notes of suffering and confusion, and a history so vile and so low that the centuries will not keep the memory. And Jehovah does not find the echo of his written history on his page where the praises of his divine history in the creature were to be told. My daughter, there is a misconception in this low world where we believe that the creature can live outside of us. What a mistake, what a mistake! The whole creation is nothing but a legacy from us. Therefore, it is ours, it belongs to us. Although we created it, we made it inseparable from us. We want the glory and honor of our heritage. We want the creatures not to be vile servants, but our children, princesses of our kingdom. And this nobility was given to the creature by the inseparability of our will. So much so that the creature cannot do anything without her, nor live apart from her. Hell itself cannot be separated from it. At most, a creature can have my will operating while That another will have it only to maintain his being, without giving my will the possibility of doing good. To live without my will would be to have a living body without the soul, which is impossible. It is clear that when one of the members of the body is cut, he no longer has the movement. He loses heat and putrefies because the soul is absent. This is what would happen if my will were to be lacking, everything would return to nothingness. This is what life in my will is. Feel flowing in his being, in all his acts. The light, the divine force and the life of my will. Because where there is no act acting, the act remains. Without life, without heat, without strength, and without divine light, he is like dead to the good. When he does not have good in him, it is evil that is formed and the soul ends up putrefied. Oh! If the creature could see itself without the operative force of my will, she would see herself so distorted that she would be horrified. Consequently, always let yourself be carried away by the eternal waves of my will, in whom you will find your written page, your story woven for you with so much love. So you will no longer be upset by what we have arranged for you. You will find that these are all things that belong to you. By an absolute necessity they must form your life, fill your story, and satisfy our need for love, that we wanted from all eternity, which is to make our will known. Be faithful. Does not hinder our love and leave us free to develop our admirable designs formed on you. After which I continued my abandonment in the divine Fiat, and my sweet Jesus added, my good daughter, the one who makes my will and lives in him rises to the unity of my will and descends into her in all things, in order to love me in everything, in all creatures, and in each of their deeds. And me, my love, whatever I do to love you in all and in all their deeds, and wanting to cover each of my love so that you receive love from all, I see, however, that not all of them love you. It is for me a sadness because I feel that my love does not have the life force and that, therefore, I do not know how to make you loved by everyone. And Jesus, my daughter, it is the strength of the unity of my will that rushes you to all and to everything to love and give me an exchange of love for all. And if all of them don't give me their love, I can't say I don't receive yours. More precisely, I feel in your love the note of love that everyone should give me, and, oh, how happy I am! You must know that this is our divine function. From the height of our one and only act that we never interrupt, our light, our love, our power and our goodness descend. They go after. Of all the deeds, heartbeats, steps, words and thoughts to shape, invest, and seal them with our love. We feel an irresistible need of love to go in search of all and everything, nothing escapes us, not even a heartbeat, to give our I love you. And yet, creatures don't like us. More precisely, there are those who flee in the rain of our love. But we keep going, we don't stop. Because our divine nature is love and it must love. We feel the satisfaction, the happiness that our love gives us by loving. He has the virtue of loving everyone and spreading over everyone and everywhere. There would not be in us the fullness of happiness if our love suffered a lack of power to love, or even to have to stop if he receives nothing in return. So keep going. To love for all and to overwhelm everything with our love. And while you don't get everything you want, you will feel the notes of happiness of our love by wanting to love us all. I am still in the arms of the divine will as a little child who wants to be cradled in the arms of her mother to enter a sweet sleep. And if her mother does not rock her, the poor little one does not feel safe. She is troubled. She cries and implores her mother to take her in her arms to rest. And she calms down when she gets what she wants. I'm like that little child who has just been born. I strongly feel the need to be safe in the arms of the Fiat, to be rocked and protected. And since I have no experience, I feel the need to be guided and to know what I must do in His will. I felt oppressed by the privations of my sweet Jesus and because of other incidents. Then Jesus, my immense good, all goodness, said to me, my little newborn of my will, come in my arms. You are right to say that you are only safe in my arms. There is no danger in my will. Better than a mother, she holds you tightly against her breast. It nourishes you with its light and love. There is no oppression, sadness, or fear. These things are outside of my will. In my will there is only peace, joy, and a continual disposition. There is so much to do in my will that the soul has neither the time nor the means to be oppressed. Oppression is nothing but the lack of abandonment in my arms. Abandonment produces a gentle sleep. In this sleep, the soul dreams of the one it loves and of the one who loves it as long as he holds the soul firmly against its womb. On the contrary, oppression and fear produce the day before. The creature is interested in itself and not in the one who loves and watches over it. You need to know what to do. My will and live in it forms my life and you end. That a total abandonment calls my works. The creature that does not live abandoned in me hinders my life and my works. And I'm unhappy if I can't develop what I want in the creature. Therefore, surrender yourself totally in me and I will take care of everything. After which I made my rounds in creation, to place my exchange of love in all that God has created and preserved out of pure love. My beloved Jesus added, my daughter, the great expanse of the world attached to the great expanse of the divinity rotates continuously, animated by our incessant movement. It revolves around us to give us back the glory, honor and love with which it came out of us. We are thus in the middle of our works. As they turn around us, they enchant our Supreme Being with secret and mysterious voices. We feel our life scattered in the things created and that come back to us. The pulsation of our love. The depth of our worship. The praise of our glory. The halo of our sparkling beauty and the life of our light. The creature that makes its round in our works unites to give us all that creation gives us. My divine will gives it a place in all the things created to do what they do. And by doing her tour, she acquires more love and more light and more knowledge, which embellishes it even more. It's a delight to see that by making her tour she takes the life of her creator and copies it. And my divine Fiat gives him the right to have his place of honor in his works. Who lives in our will is inseparable of us, and from the largest to the smallest of the works of our creation, the creative force of our will unites it to all things with an indissoluble and eternal unity. My abandonment in the Fiat continues. The more I surrender, the more I feel strengthened by his strength. His life animates mine. Its light reassures me. He reveals to me with clarity the one in whom I surrender myself totally. He gives me the powerful desire to go through his works. In his love, he wants his little girl to be the spectator of what he has done by love for creatures. I was on my tour when my sovereign Jesus stopped me in the act of man's creation. He said to me, my daughter, what a sweet memory, the creation of man. Il et credence unde nos extases d'amour. Notre amour était si grand que nous étions en admiration devant l'œuvre que nous avions mise au jour. La beauté dont nous l'avions investi, la sainteté dont nous l'avions rempli, sa forme et l'harmonie avec laquelle il avait forme nous captivait. Ses prérogatives, chacune de ses qualités, étaient pour nous des extases d'amour qui nous ravissent. Notre amour en était ébranlé, subjugué, et nous mettent en extase. Il fait sa nature en nous un amour impérieux et agis sant pour le home. Et dans cette extase d'amour, nous étions ravis. Nous en faisions attention à rien. Nous en mettions aucune limite pour manifester notre amour. Nous l'avons enriqui de tous les biais. Nous en avons les aucun vide en lui afin que son amour pour nous soit entier et tu il puisse nous fasciner afin que nous l'aimions continuellement. Le souvenir de la création de l'homme fait revivre notre extase d'amour envers lui. La créature qui fait se rend dans notre volonté et trouver nos œuvres. En préparation pour la création de l'homme. Fait sonner la cloche qui appelle toutes les creatures. A reconnaître cet amour de Dieu pour l'homme. Etc du son éveille notre attention, réveille notre amour. Il fait surger en nous set exdes d'amour envers l'homme. Un exdes signifie un épanquement sans limites sur celui qui est aimé. Celui qui vit dans notre volonté possède la force de faire s'élever en nous notre exdes d'amour qui est divers sur la créature. Par notre puissance, nous faisons que la créature soit en exdes pour nous. Afin qu'il lui reste rien et que tout se divers dans notre être supreme. There is an effusion in between. Therefore, nothing pleases us so much as to see the creature in the will itself. Where it was created. See our works. Know them. Feel the pulsation of our love that every created thing possesses. This was the trousseau that we prepared and gave to man in the creation of all things. Who then receives the life of the good contained in created things? Who benefits from such a splendid trousseau, and has the rights to own it? The one who recognizes them. By knowing them, he finds our love pulsating, our operative will, and he loves them. He loves in them this supreme being who loves him so much. Therefore, be attentive and constant in making your rounds in our works. So that we can contribute to each other's love. There will be between us an ecstasy of love. You will be able to enjoy the great trousseau that the Creator has given you with so much love. After which my little spirit went through the deeds performed in the divine will. Passing from one to the other, I came to the conception of the Most Holy Virgin Mary. Oh, my God! Heaven remained silent before this act performed in the divine will. The angels seemed to stammer, without being able to say everything about this great prodigy. Ah! Only God can speak of it. For He is the author of this prodigy that He operated in this conception. And I was stunned. Then my kind Jesus surprised me and said to me, "My daughter, the conception of the Immaculate Virgin was a new act of our will. That is, in time. New in the way. New in time, and new in grace. In her, all creation has been renewed. In our gaze that embraces all things and in our immensity, we have called all creatures and all their good deeds. Present, past, and future, as if they were one. So that this conception could be formed. On every being and on everything. To give this right to all. And give them this right over everything, not with words, but with facts. When our will performs an act that must be useful. As a universal good for all, no one is set aside. My will, by its omnipotence, unites all things, creatures and their deeds. Except those who are fulfilled in sin, for evil does not enter into our deeds. She performs the acts she wants to do. You see, your actions are part of it. You've done your part. Therefore, in law, you are His daughter. And the Virgin Queen is your mother. Do you know why we created this holy creature in this way? It was in order to renew the whole creation. To love Him with a new love, and to secure all beings and all things under the wings of this creature and celestial mother. Our works are never isolated. We always start from a single act. If this act is one, it unites everything and He performs everything as if all acts were one. This is our omnipotence, our creative force. Do everything in one act. Find everything, and do good for all. The divine will, with its sweet enchantments, continues to weave in my soul its divine life. She makes her grow, gives her her shape, nourishes her, covers her with her wings of light and hides her so well that not even a breath of wind can prevent the growth of her life in my soul. Oh! Without the divine will, who better than a mother is tender and loving and keeps me in her arms, covered with light in all the circumstances of my life, oh! It would be too painful without her, and I do not know what I would do. But its light calms me down and strengthens me, and I continue. Oh! Adorable will, how much I thank you for so much kindness. I offer you the infinity of your will to thank you as you deserve. My mind was immersed in its light when my beloved Jesus made his short visit to me again and said, "My blessed daughter! How beautiful it is to see the creature under the wings of light of my will. The creature covered with this light does not see, feel, or touch anything other than its mother of light who covers it. If other creatures hurt, beat, and fill that creature with bitterness, it sinks deeper into the arms of light and she responds to those who want to hurt her with a smile of light, and she ridicules them by confusing their human perfidy. Oh! Power of my operative will! It escapes everything. She triumphs over everything. With her light, she forms her throne of imperial glory in the soul that gives her the freedom to act. You must know that its power is such that it takes every century to become one. His reign extends everywhere. All the good deeds of creatures are nothing but atoms which, together, form only one act. They recognize his power and prostrate themselves at his feet. They form the glory and worship of human generations of this supreme will. The sun is a symbol of this, which is nothing but atoms of light which, when assembled, form the sun that gives light to the earth. But these atoms are armed with a divine power. Each of them contains a wonderful power. So much so that he only has to touch the earth to communicate to plants the benefits and wonderful effects of forming a distinct life for each plant and flower. In the same way, the acts of creatures, though they are atoms, contain the wonderful power of my will. Therefore, they are filled with wonderful effects. You must know that when the creature is willing to perform an act in my will arms it with its power and simplifies it. It forms emptiness, forms the divine nature in the human will. Victorious, my will forms her life in the will of the creature. It is always moving forward. It stops only if the human will blocks its way by doing its own will and not mine. What an offense to block the way of my will in the will of the creature. I created the creatures in order to have these paths in the human will to go through them continuously and have my act acting there. And whoever obstructs my path, want to stop the continuation of my creation, hinders my steps and me lile mains pour pecher d'agir. Oh! Ne pas faire ma volonté semble peu de chose. Pourtant, c'est la plus grande des offenses et crie vengeance devant la divine majesté pour les pauvres creatures. Spécialement lorsqu'elle en sait que ma volonté vaut un œuvre ou un sacrifice. Ne pas faire ma volonté, c'est saisir de la vérité. C'est qui est un péché contre le Saint-Esprit qui crie vengeance devant Dieu. Connaître ma volonté et ne pas l'accomplir, c'est fermer le ciel. Rompre les relations divines et ne pas reconnaître le divin mandat que chaque creature a l'obligation de connaître et auquel elle doit se soumettre, si right au prix de sa vie. Par consequent, sois attentive, adore ma volonté et que j'y dispose. For you if you want to make your Jesus happy. I am always the prey of the divine fiat. Double reproduce the love he had by creating so many things for me. It seems that the divine will size after the love of his beloved creatures in order to find a place to rest his great love. The sky, the sun, and the wind are nothing but urgent calls to tell us, I preceded you with my love, and do not deprive me of yours. I saw that everything called me to love my Creator. Then my beloved Jesus surprised me and said to me, my daughter, I have created a sky studded with stars that stretches over your head. I also created a heaven in you. And this sky is your soul that stretches everywhere, from the top of your head to the end of your feet. There is no place in you where this sky does not extend. You thus have a sky above you and another sky within you that is even more beautiful. And all that this sky does by means of your nature, that is, think, talk, walk and suffer, are bright stars in the sky of your soul. The sun shining in this sky is my will. The flowing sea is my grace. The wind is my sublime truths that form the fields of flowers of the most magnificent virtues. It would not have been worthy of our wisdom or the power of our love to only make creation outside and not inside the creature. Thus leaving the interior, the vital and essential part, without a sky with stars and suns. No, when we do a work, we fill it on the outside as well as on the inside of our creations and our lives. so much so that there must not be a particle of his being that does not feel the life and strength of our creative works. That's why we love so much the creature that is our work. We leave our life in it to preserve what we have created. That is why whoever does not feel in him the life of my will, knows it in theory, but not in practice. When a good is known and put into practice, it has virtue to form the substance of the life of the good which is known. Otherwise, the good would remain without being put into practice. Like a painting that does not have life, does not have the virtue of forming one's life in whoever looks at it. My will is life. Our works are living works, not dead works. However, for the one who does not know them, does not seek to know them, and does not put them into practice, these works are for him without life, like dead works. It is therefore in practice that I await the creature in order to realize, to train, to grow the life of my will and to make our works in the creature alive. After which I felt in my soul a fear, a doubt as to the presence of my sweet Jesus in my soul. Or if he had withdrawn, leaving me alone and abandoned. My God! What a cruel thorn that pierces us and makes us feel a cruel death! But my ever-kind Jesus surprised me and he said, "My daughter, don't be afraid. To reassure you, I want to tell you what sign shows that I reside in your soul, and when I leave it. If the soul submits to my will, loves it, gives it the first place, then it is a sign that I am there. Because my presence has the virtue of keeping the human will subject to mine. On the other hand, if the soul feels rebellious towards my will, then this is the sure sign that I have withdrawn. Therefore, be calm and do not be afraid. The sea of the divine will continues to whisper in my soul. Oh! That his whisper is soft, penetrating, and upsetting. He carries me so much that I whisper with him as if this divine sea were mine. Merged into her, I no longer know how to do anything other than what the Supreme Will does. I whispered, love, adoration, joys, happiness and beauty, evoking the inspirations that entered me. Then my sweet Jesus visited his little girl and said to her, "My blessed daughter, your smallness in the endless sea of our will is our greatest joy. You must know that the one who lives in our will emits three acts which are cooperate, help, and receive. In the first, it collaborates in the acts of its creator, since the will of one is the will of the other. There is nothing in what this divine will does in which it does not place the creature to collaborate in its operation. That is why my will is no longer alone. He feels the inseparability of the one who lives in him. He feels in his actions a finite will and infinity that loves and collaborates in multiplicity in the incessant operation of our works. Thus, whoever lives in our will breaks our loneliness. We feel his participation in our divine sea. By a continual outpouring of his smallness in us, it acquires the rights of our will in order to do what it does. Oh! You cannot understand our happiness, our joy, to feel that the creature collaborates in order to do nothing but what we do. The act of cooperation gives rise to the act of assistance. The soul cooperates and helps. We don't do anything without her knowing and collaborating on it. How to hide something from the one who is already with us, who collaborates and has its place in our will? But will it only collaborate and help? Oh! No! Another act arises. It is that of receiving as one's own and as ours the infinity of our love and our works. So much so that his smallness does not know where to put such great love and such great works. And she therefore remains in our will with all the deposit of the goods she has received, and this by right, because in this will, there is what is hers. You must know that all that is done in our will is so great, that the creature is unable to possess it and restrict it to itself. Therefore, she must make use of the same will in which she worked in order to keep it in deposit. Moreover, everything that the creature does in our will with the power of our will, the small offerings of his actions, its smallness and even the little I love you, are all spaces that it takes in our will. The more space it occupies, the more rights it acquires. And she feels within her the divine rights and divine strength that continually delight her and give her flight. so that his life becomes totally formed in the divine will. And since this way of life was to be that of all creatures, this was the reason for our creation. But it is with immense bitterness that we see that almost all of them live in the baseness of their human will. My little mind felt filled with the sweet lessons of my kind Jesus. Worried, he wanted to provoke doubts and fears. I know that when Jesus wants to, he allows the soul to get where he wants and as he wishes. There are no laws for him and no one is there to dictate them to him. He does not pay attention to human ways of seeing things. He always does something new to confuse them. Aucun aime de passe la puissance de son amour. Peu importe le nombre de doutes et de craintes qu'elles rapportent. Ilsn maki et les les aller bavardage pendant qu'il agit dans l'âme qu'il accoisse. Et bien que j'ai sach tout cela, ma fragilite se rappelle monde douloureux sort. J'ai me sentis secoué et j'ai dis. Qui sait combien de doutes il aura concernant tout ces discours de Jesus. J'ai me sentis très malheureux et affligé. Mais Jesus veille sur ma pauvre âme et, repetant sa petite visite, tout bon, il me dit. Blessed girl, don't worry. My will has the virtue to kill everything that does not belong to him and to change into light the very weaknesses and miseries of the creature. All I tell you is not the virtue of the creature, but virtue and power of my will which can do everything. My will is symbolized by the sun which, at its rising, casts out and makes and die darkness. And when he puts on the earth, he gives everything its life of light. So it is with my will. And when the creature lets itself be clothed by the power of its light, the darkness leaves it and his evils die to be converted into a life of light. The one who does not understand shows that he is illiterate. Therefore cannot understand what my will is and what it can do. Nor can he understand what can be achieved. The one who lives in my will and can be invested with its light. Therefore, let them speak. I will act and they will continue to speak. If they have not studied my will in depth, what do you want them to understand? They may be learned doctors in other things, but on my will, they will always be ignorant little ones. Therefore, leave them aside and think about acting in deeds and not in words. You must know that for anyone who works in my divine will, his works, his actions and his worship for God are fulfilled and formed in eternity because my divine will is eternal. And all that can be done in her does not come out of eternity and remains confirmed as divine and eternal works, worship, and love. It can be said that these are works of the creature transfused into God and in which God himself operated. What is human does not enter into the divine will or eternity. To enter, what is human must lose his life in order to reacquire the life of the works of God himself. Therefore, he who lives in our will comes to be seen by us. Not in time, but in eternity. For our procession and our honor. His actions must be our deeds. His love our love. We feel that the creature comes in our will to give us an opportunity, to allow us to act, and to give him our love so that we may be loved with our own love. Everything must be ours. Everything the creature does must be imbued with the image of its creator. On the other hand, the one who works outside my divine will operates in time. All that is done in time are works without confirmation, or rather, who have to wait for the judgment to be confirmed or condemned, or purified by the fire of purgatory. They are considered works of the creature where fullness could be lacking. Holiness, love, and de la valeur infinie. C'est tout le contraire pour qui over dans notre volonté. Comme si sunt nos actes, tu possédant la plénitude de sainteté, d'amour, de beauté, de grâce, de lumière et de valeur infinie. Il y a une telle distance entre les uns et les autres que si tu les comprends, oh! Combien ils seraient attentifs à vivre dans notre vouloir affondé. Rester exempts de tout acte humain et rempli de l'acte opérant d'un divine volonté. Par consequent, sois attentive et ne fais rien qui ne soit imprégné et vide par la lumière de ma volonté. Tu me rendras immensement heureux. En me permettant d'agir en tu que je suis. So I await you in my divine will in order to always go to you. To extend my arms towards you to act in you, and to be able to talk and stay with you to maintain sweet conversations and manifest to you the mysteries secrets of my supreme fiat. After which I thought of all that Jesus, my immense good, had told me. And it is as if doubts and difficulties want to arise in me. And he, with inexpressible mastery, said to me, "My good daughter, don't be surprised by everything I tell you. Everything is possible at my will. There is no such thing as the impossible. If the creature allows itself to be led by my will, everything is done. You must know that everything I tell you serves to form, order, and harmonize the kingdom of the divine will. I redo what I did in creation, I pronounced the fiat, then there was a silence. And although they speak of days, in those times the days did not exist. Therefore, we can also talk about eras during which I trained the great machine of the universe. I spoke and worked, and I was so satisfied with the work produced by my word that my fiat disposed me, delighted, to pronounce another fiat, then yet another. And my fiat only stopped when I saw that nothing was missing from my work. That everything was sumptuousness, beauty, order, harmony, and that to enjoy my works, I dwelt there as life. My fiat remained as a goalkeeper, the same fiat that with its power bound me to my works and made me inseparable from it. It's all in the enunciation of my first fiat. By giving my first lessons, I have deposited in the soul the power and the work of my fiat. When I begin, I can say that I do not stop until I have completed my work. What would we say if creation was half finished? It would not be a work worthy of me, and my love would not have been exuberant. That's why a fiat attracts me and delights the next one. It forms the void in the creature. To place the order and harmony of my operating fiat, he disposes of the creature and forces me to give other lessons in order to form many acts together. United, they form the new creation, more beautiful and more harmonious than the machine of the universe that is to serve for the kingdom of my will. That is why every word is a work, another outpouring of our love. It gives the finality to my first fiat. Joining hands, the first and last fiat pronounced will form the interweaving of the new creation of my kingdom. In the depths of the soul, transmitted to the descendants, this kingdom will be more than the universe itself, the bearer of goods, holiness, and graces for human generations. So you see what it means. A word more or less. A lesson of more or less. These are works that, if not received, mean nothing. My fiat then does not attract me and does not captivate me to pronounce other fiat. Therefore, the work is not completed. I want to wait and repeat my lessons. If I repeat them, it is a sign that you have ignored what I have said. And I want nothing to be missing, because everything I have to tell you about my will has been established. Therefore, be attentive and let me do what I want. After which I thought about what was written at the beginning of this section, that whoever acts in the divine will works in eternity, and that he who acts outside it works in time. I thought, why this big difference? Jesus, my immense love, added, "My daughter, it's easy to understand. Suppose you received gold with which you were able to make a large number of beautiful gold objects. But if I had given you copper or steel, you would not have been able to change copper or steel into gold, and you would therefore have made objects out of copper and steel. Now compare these copper and steel objects with the gold objects. What a difference in their value! And yet, you devoted the same work to it. You made identical objects. But because of the difference in metal, gold objects are surprisingly superior to others in value, beauty, and elegance. For the one who acts with his human will, even by doing good, as it is in time, it can be said that all he does are temporal works and subject to thousands of miseries. They will always be human works of minimal value because they lack the golden thread, the light of my will. But he who acts in my will have this golden thread in his power. He will also have the Creator operating in his act. He will have in his power eternity, not time. That is why there is no sufficient comparison to express the difference between the two. Life in my divine will is exactly this. My will has the first and operative act in the creature. She does like the master who wants to develop the theme he gave to his student. He gives him the paper, puts the pen in his hand, and places his hand on his student's. And he develops the theme with the hand of the student and that of the master who write together. Can we not say that it was the master who acted? And that he has placed in this theme his science and his beautiful calligraphy in such a way that no one can find the shadow of a defect. But the student did not move. He has for him the work of his master. He allowed him to direct his hand without any resistance. He was even happy to see the beautiful ideas, the precious concepts that delighted him. Can we not say that the student possesses the value and merit of the work of his master? This is what happens to the one who lives in my will. The creature must undergo the act that my will wants to perform. It cannot be set aside. And he must place what is necessary and worthy of his divine act. Our goodness is such that we make the creature the owner of our deeds themselves. On the other hand, the one who does not live in our will resembles the student to whom the master has given a theme, but without being the actor of this theme. He lets the student do it who can then make mistakes. For he acts according to his small abilities and does not feel above him the capacity and the operative act of his master. And the theme is nothing but our grace. She never leaves the creature, even in the small good she does. According to the dispositions of the creature, it lends itself as an operative act or act of assistance. For there is no good that can be done without the help and support of divine grace. I am in the depths of my nothingness. Feeling deprived of my sweet Jesus, I felt my nothingness, emptiness of his life and without strength or support. After receiving Holy Communion, I felt oppressed and bitter. Jesus, ayant pitié de moi, me dit. Ma fille, courage, tu n'ient avec Jesus est tout chose. Tu peux me donner toute chose parce que tu dois savoir que je ne descends pas seul lorsque tu me recueilles sacramentellement, mais que je descends avec toutes mes œuvres. Je te rends propriétaire de ma vie sacramentelle. Je te rends aussi propriétaire de toutes mes œuvres. Par conséquent, si tu l'ivre, tu es beaucoup à me donner parce que tu es mes œuvres en ton pouvoir. De plus, ma vie sacramentelle that you receive in the Holy Host is surrounded. The acts performed in my humanity when I received myself by instituting the most blessed sacrament. With the acts performed by my Heavenly Mother when she received me sacramentally. And with all the acts of those who live in my will. This is because these acts are inseparable from me and remain incorporated into me as part of my very life. Therefore, you can give me everything because they serve to cover your misery, to compensate for your love and to almost prevent you from being ashamed because otherwise you would have nothing to give me. But by giving them to me, they duplicate themselves and become my deeds and your deeds. Those of the Sovereign Queen and those of souls who live in my will so that I have them twice instead of once. And my sacramental life remains surrounded twice of acts, twice of love and greater glory. This is the trade I practice when I communicate to souls. I give of what is mine to receive it in duplicate. My sacramental life remains active to have this exchange. But alas! How many do not make any use of it? And these souls remain without having to give me anything. I am deprived of a new court, without their actions and with the pain of not being able to exercise my trade of love. You won't do that to me. Because if I come, it's also because I want to give myself. And to receive me, whatever the creature may give me. It forms my satisfaction, my happiness, and my paradise in the most blessed sacrament. giving and receiving nothing from creatures' forms. My purgatory in the small prison of the sacramental host. A purgatory that the ungrateful creature forms for me. Therefore, be attentive and with courage and without any reserve, give me what is mine and give me all of yourself so that I can say, I gave her everything and she gave me everything. You will thus form my happiness and my trade of love. After which I made my round in the divine will. It seemed to me that all the things created, one after the other, invited me to know them as the work of the omnipotent Fiat, where he was waiting for my little exchange of love. And as small as he was, he wanted it, he asked for it. In order to obtain the reason for having made all creation, I was trying to follow the divine will. Then my kind Jesus repeated his little visit. He said to me, my blessed daughter, all that our paternal goodness has accomplished in creation and redemption has not yet received the exchange from creatures. The reason for this is that the purpose for which creation was created was that man would fulfill our will in all things. The will operating in creation had to obtain its continual operative act in the creature, in such a way that the echo of one had to form the echo of the other to become one. But the operative virtue of my will remains alone with all its magnificence, power, wisdom, and beauty. It dwells in the celestial sphere, but in man it is repressed. Man does not have in him my operative will. Thus he does not have the ear to hear his virtue operating in creation. Therefore, not having achieved their purpose, our works remain without exchange. Purpose forms the exchange of every work accomplished, large or small. You must be convinced that no one works in the divine order or in the human order without the purpose of obtaining an exchange. This purpose can be called the beginning of the life of a work. Exchange is the fulfillment. Oh! How many works would have no beginning if there were no design? And they would remain halfway if it were not for the certainty of the exchange. The exchange sustains incredible sacrifices. It confers on God and creatures excessive heroism. Gold. If my will does not form his kingdom in souls, and if they do not give him the freedom to dominate them by his creative and operating virtue, the true exchange is not given to us. We will therefore always be waiting. We will see our wonderful works halfway end, without the fulfillment of our purpose. It is thus missing the most beautiful thing, the most important act, the purpose for which all things were created. So you see how necessary it is for the kingdom of my divine will to come. More than that, by not receiving his exchange, our creative work remains suspended and cannot continue the work of creation, because it is established that from the outer creation possessed by creatures, inner creation in the depths of the soul was to be prosecuted. This can be accomplished if my will holds first place, the freedom to work in the human will. If my will does not have it, it cannot continue its creative work. It is prevented from doing so, unable to create new heavens, stars, and suns, as well as everything else, without being able to continue our works and without being able to continue what we have established to do in creatures by virtue of our will. How can we have the exchange if we have not yet finished doing what we want, and if the work of creation that we began so many centuries ago has not yet been completed? Because the work of creation must understand what my Fiat had to do altogether in creation in order to be able to say that our work is finished. Etsi notre vouloir n'a pas encore fait tout ce qu'il veut faire, comment peut-il? To say that I have completed my work, have a return for everything he has done? When we have obtained the purpose of the creature, doing all things in our will and living in it, having his reign in order to leave the field open to the magnificence of his works, when the purpose of the will of one will be the purpose of the other, then we can receive the exchange of all that we have accomplished out of love for creatures. Therefore, be attentive, and always move forward in my will. I always start my round again in the acts of the divine will. Although it seems to me, having made my round in his works and have understood beauty, holiness and the infinite goods it contains. By redoing my round, I feel like an illiterate, an ignorant little one. I see that there is still a lot to understand, to be taken and to learn. Works of the Supreme Will. My little intelligence seemed to be under the spell of the magnificence of his works. Then my heavenly Jesus visited my poor soul and said to me, "My blessed daughter, my works contain infinite value and goods. You notice when you go back that there is still much, much to understand. Infinity cannot be included in the finite. The finish, at most, can be filled. But enclosing everything from infinity will be impossible. And as your intelligence is finite, it is consumed before the infinite. It is filled. And he seems to understand everything. But that's not true. Rather, being filled, it can no longer put another divine knowledge. But the fact of rehashing and rethinking knowledge form a new space in your intelligence. Finding itself among our works, the creature then finds new things to understand and learn. That is why you feel illiterate at first every time you find yourself before the magnificence of our divine works. You need to know that as much in the works of creation, that in the works of redemption we have placed in everything the fullness of happiness, light, grace, goodness, and so on for all other divine qualities. All these prerogatives are in the act to be poured on the creature to make it happy. The happiness of our works, like a heavenly air, carries with it its perfume, a divine balm. For those who approach it in order to understand. Overflowing, our works communicate the goods they possess. Parnos ovra, nous avons place les creatures sous la pluie torrentielle de notre bonheur pour les rendre heureuses. Mais comme elles ne approchent pas pour comprendre. Elles sont malheureuses et elles sentent l'air empoisonné de leur volonté humaine. Personne en agit avec le dessein de se rendre malheureuse et de ne pas utiliser le biais de son œuvre. Moins encore l'être suprême qui a fait toute chose afin de former l'escalier du bonheur pour la créature. It is our only satisfaction to see the creature among our works in order to be united with them, to enjoy it and to understand them, and to form the norm to know how to act in them. And as our will does not know how to create dissimilary works, it repeats in the creature the facsimile of our works. After which I continued to feel totally immersed in the divine will. My ever-kind Jesus added, "My daughter, don't be surprised. Everything is possible in my will." With her, the creature has the all in her power, and she can do anything. She feels herself reigning over her being. Nothing comes out of the creature that is not clothed with a divine act, strength, and power. What is human dies in our will, but it is a happy and glorious death. The human will dies to be resurrected with the life of deeds. A divine power and of a will that is not that of the creature. And the creature, under the empire that she feels reign in her. If she had to do other things with her own will, even holy and good things, would never do them. She would be happy to remain even for centuries without doing anything rather than doing a single act without feeling on this act the empire of the operative act of my will. Because in my will the creature clearly understands what an act of my operative will means. Compared to a single act of my will, thousands of acts performed without the divine act would be almost nothing. You must know that when the creature enters our will, our goodness is so great and we are so happy to have him with us, that we yield to him our works, our steps, our love to the extent that this is possible for the creature. Thus, every time she performs an act in the divine will, she acquires one of our steps, one of our works. It then takes our love, our goodness, our power. Totally happy she tells us, "In your will, I have your love in my power. Thus, I can love you as much as you love yourselves. I have your works in my power to glorify you. I have your steps in mind to walk the same path as you in search of all the creatures to bring them all before your adorable majesty." Our Supreme Being, in its immensity, is everywhere. It is the life of every work, every step, and every heartbeat. When she sees that creatures offend us, ah! Faithful, she would like to hide us in her smallness and place her life instead of ours, for our defense. Oh! How could we not love this creature? There are in our will incredible wonders. Since she is not known, it is no wonder that they do not understand what I am telling you. But you, don't stop. Follow his light, and be his blessed prey. I am always the prey of the divine Fiat. My smallness never tires of turning into her with the firm hope of being consumed in her light and the desire to penetrate ever further into her knowledge to taste new flavors. Because each additional knowledge is a new flavor that we receive and that stimulates the appetite to taste it more. One sometimes feels an insatiable hunger, never satisfied. And we want to stay with our mouths open to receive this heavenly food. So much was swarming in my mind about the divine will. If I wanted to write everything, I don't know where you would find the paper. I therefore limit myself to what I can write. Some doubts were spreading in my mind. Then my heavenly Master Jesus visited his little newborn and said to me, "Blessed girl! An act becomes more valuable when the property it contains is known. Through more knowledge, the creature acquires more because it performs this act on the basis of the value that is known. And our paternal goodness knows how to deceive or mock anyone. If we make known the value of an act, it is because we want to give the value we manifest. The sure sign that we want to give it is the knowledge of the value of this act. We do as the king who takes worthless paper and writes on one the value 100, on another 1,000, and on yet another the value 1,000,000. The paper has the same quality, the same shape, but according to the number it carries. That is what it is worth. Therefore, what gives value to paper? The number and image of the king he uses as currency for his kingdom. We do the same thing. Paper is the act of the creature. Knowledge is our divine image. And the value is the number we write on it. What is astonishing then if we say that an act of our will surpasses in value all the combined acts of all creatures performed outside our will? It's our image which is printed on the paper of the human act. The value of the knowledge inscribed on it the number. Aren't we the owners? Qui placent la valeur que nous voulons sur le papier de la volonté humaine? Sile propriétaire estlroi qui inscrit la valeur il vote sur ce vil papier, a plus forte raison le faisons nous pour former la monnaie qui doit circuler dans notre céleste patrie. De plus, notre volonté est un don gratuit que nous avons fait al home. Ilne nous serene paye pour l'avenir. Il innovate d'alers ni l'argent ni les moyens suffisants pour nous payer. Enda or du traceville papier de la volonté humaine que, pour son malheur, il volait même pas nous prêter pour pouvoir conserver notre grand don. Et nous étions pourtant son père très tendre et très aimant. Et entre le père et les fils, on n'échant pas de comptes parce que il est connu que le père doit donner auxiliary enfant, et tu avec justice. Ilsont l'obligation d'aimer et d'estimer ce que leur père leur donne. This is the reason for the need for knowledge of the divine will, and we do it little by little so that the creature appreciates this great gift that we want to give him for free. Knowledge will generate the appetite, the desire to know our will better, and the human will gradually be ready to undergo the transformation and unification of the divine will. And we, without worrying about whether or not the creature can pay us, will put there our image and the incalculable divine value. And we will be happy to see our children rich and happy with our divine wealth and happiness. And my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, you must know that when the creature acts in our will, his act undergoes the divine fecundity in which the divine seed is formed in each of his acts and which, circulating in the soul, forms the divine seed in his thought, his word, and in all things. In such a way that in his small act can be seen the sweet enchantment of his Creator, happy to give life to the act of the creature by his loving presence. Oh! If all could see the sweet surprise, the incredible prodigy, the supreme being included in the brief round of the human act. They would be so stunned that the great prodigy of the universe would seem to them nothing compared to it. My abandonment in the Fiat continues. It's exhilarating, invests and absorbs force, and my little soul feels so small, barely an atom. And she also feels its immensity that cannot be enclosed in such a small circle. But despite its smallness, my soul does not want to remain inactive. She wants to love, bless, glorify, and thank the one who loves so much he has made his divine will available to the soul. My soul was lost in him when my sovereign Jesus visited my little soul and said to him, "You do not want to understand the value of an act performed in my divine will. Its value is so high and its greatness is such that the creature that made it cannot itself contain it. As the soul is itself filled without being able to contain it, the act overflows and flows into the immensity of the eternal Fiat. And everything that the Fiat submerges and encloses in its immensity repeats this act of the creature. So when you love me, worship me, bless me, and thank me, you give a great field to all the things created to repeat your act, so that heaven and earth, sun and wind, seas and rivers, plants and flowers, all say in chorus, we love you, we adore you, we pray to you. It's like an echo that resonates everywhere and in everything. And with the invested strength it possesses, my will absorbs this echo and causes everything to resume the act that the creature performed in my will. And then, what a sweet surprise, what a wonderful enchantment that an act can reign over everything and make everything repeat it. The little atom that enters our will is made powerful on all end. Gently nourishes each and every one of his acts so that his creator is loved. Therefore, our Supreme Being feels that the creature that enters our will can move everything. His voice flows everywhere. Not wanting to stay alone. It invests. She reigns and she makes say what she wants. To everything invested by the Fiat. Does the creature want to love? She then makes everyone say, love. Does she want to worship, to bless? Everything then lends itself to worship and bless. It is our will that wants it to do so. And the creature is invested with its power and empire. And it is our delight to see the smallness of the creature flow into our immensity. We feel the accompaniment of the creature. Because being in his company means that we are together with the creature. To recognize the act she has performed as well as her value, so that she can tell us how much she loves us. The greater the creature knows that his act is, the more he gives us, the more we feel loved, the more we love him. Inzi, Seul la creature vient de la terre pour briser notre solitude. She alone is the actress who can move everything to make us love, bless, and thank. It is true that there are other creatures in our divine will, but they are there without knowing that we are in them, for whom they work, and without knowing the value of their works. They live as strangers and as far from us. And it is a great sorrow for us have children, to have them in our house, which is our will, and to be as if we do not have them. They do not recognize the one who gives them life and loves them so much. This is not what happens with those who know they live in our will. We recognize each other, we live as father and children. Or rather, they live in us and us in them. And we form only one will. My surrender into the divine will continues. Although the light of the eternal Fiat never leaves me, I am in the nightmare of repeated deprivations of my beloved Jesus. Its waves of light invest me inside and out. They become heartbeat, breath, movement and nourishment of my little soul. Ah! If not of the divine will whose life replaces everything, and of Jesus himself. A single blow would end life and that light would take me to heaven. But, I told myself, my exile is long. What good do I do? And even if I did, how important is the good I could do? I thought this when my dear life, the sweet Jesus, repeating his little visit, said to me, "My daughter, courage. My will consumes you in its light to form in you its divine copy." And her jealousy is so great that she does not stop for a moment to send you her light so as not to give you time to do your will, but always the mine. And how special is this property? Everything is in the operation of the property. He is the substance of holiness. It is the sun that shines among creatures through the footsteps, words, and holy works of creatures. When light gives the creature warmth and light, it gives light and warmth to everyone around it. Good produces imperishable glory on earth and in heaven. Who can take away the glory of a good that one has done? No one. Neither God nor the creature. And from within this good act rises by nature the glory that this act contains. So sometimes creatures are forgotten, but good is not. And he dwells as life in their midst. Therefore, every good accomplished sings glory and becomes the narrator of the one who did it. Thus, even if you did only one good by staying alive, all eternity would sing to you greater glory. I continued as usual my round in the divine will. I animated all the things created with my little I love you. I wanted to leave it imprinted on all things so that it would become the voice that demands that the kingdom of the divine will come to earth. Blessed Jesus surprised me once again. He added, "My little daughter of my will. You should know that my impatience and delirium of wanting to be loved by creatures is so great that, in secret, without making me see, I place in the depths of their souls a dose of my love. According to their provisions, I increase the dose in them. Feeling in them my love, they say to me with all their heart, I love you, I love you. And I, feeling loved, triumph in the love of the creature. Thus, each I love you of the creature is for me a triumph. And although I myself placed it there secretly, it does not matter to me that it is an artifice on my part to make me love. Moreover, I want it to have come from the will of the creature, from his voice. Feeling touched, I feel it as a love from the creature. Each I love you is thus another triumph that you allow your Jesus to know. You're looking to cover heaven and earth, and everything that is animated and inanimate by your I love you. So I see everything sprinkled with the beauty of the creature's love. And, delighted, I say in the strength of my love. Oh! Yes, how happy I am! I am already loved. And if I triumph in the love of the creature, it triumphs in my love. After saying this, he kept silent. The enthusiasm of his love is so great that, tottering, he sought rest in my arms. After which, revived, he repeated with greater insistence. My dear daughter, you must know that what I desire and what interests me most is to let it be known that I love the creature. I want to say to the ear of every heart, my child, I love you. I would be happy if I heard that I was also answered. Jesus, I love you. I feel the irresistible need to love and be loved. Oh! How many times I am allowed to suffocate in my love. Because when I love without feeling loved, my love does not find to pour out and it suffocates me. That's why I love you so much. When you say it, it takes the form of a refreshing flame that by coming into my great fire of love brings me a rest and spreads a beneficent dew on the flames that burn me. It brings tranquility to my love, my delusions, and my love frenzy. Because I am loved, I can give of what is mine. By being able to give of what is mine, my love finds to be poured out. My daughter, heaven and earth are filled and flooded with my love. There is no place where my love does not feel the need to overflow to run in search of hearts and say his little words. My daughter, I love you, I love you. And you, tell me that you love me. And my love is all ears to hear the creature pronounce its I love you. If she affirms it, my love feels reassured in the creature and it takes its sweet rest. Otherwise, he runs, travels through heaven and earth, and doesn't stop until he finds someone who tells him I love you. Every I love you of the creature is an outlet for my love. This love, by entering mine, is incorporated into my own love which has the virtue of being diffused by remaining whole. And forming the cracks, the love of the creature opens its way to unload my love. This love is pure when my will animates it. Do you then see what the long chant of your I love you is? These are all outlets that you give to your Jesus. They call me to come and rest in your soul. Therefore, I want you to always tell me your I love you. I want to see it in everything I've done for you. I always like to hear it, always. And when you don't say it, sighing, I say. Ah. Mim la petite fille de monde vouloir ne me donne pas un continuel exutoire me permettant de me décharger dans son petit amour. And I stand there in my sorrow and I await your dear little refrain. I love you, I love you. Love me, my daughter, love me. Have mercy on my wounded heart that is dying. I no longer hold, I delirium, and like a lover, I implore your love. And in my haste, I kiss you, I hold you close to my heart. To make you feel how ardent my love is and so that in contact with my flames you may be taken of pity for me and that you may love me. Oh! Make me happy and love me. When I am not loved, I feel unhappy in my love and I come to delirium. And when a compassionate heart is pitied for me and loves me, I feel my misfortune turn into happiness. Then each of your I love you becomes another little piece of wood that you throw into the immense ocean of my love and which, turning into a small flame, increase by 1 degree your love for your suffering Jesus. I feel like a little child in the arms of the divine will. Oh! How true it is to me that being a little newborn is. As I am about to be born, another act of the divine will is poured out on me or another knowledge is manifested to me, and I am reborn in this act and in this knowledge as in a new life in the divine will, which I did not have in my power and which I did not know before. In the act of receiving this new life, I feel reborn. And while I am being reborn, the divine will gives me another of its deeds. She invests me with another of her acquaintances. I am always in the act of being reborn. Oh! Power of the Supreme Fiat! You never know how to leave the creature, it seems rather that you place me in the labyrinth of your immense light. In the act of always giving me new life. And I feel the need to receive your continual life to stay lost in you. Oh! What a happy loss! For it is not a loss, but a conquest of new divine life that the creature brings. My mind was lost in the divine Fiat when my divine master, visiting his little newborn, said to me, "My little girl, my love is so great that to receive the gift of the will of the creature, I am always in the act of giving her the gift of my will in all the acts she performs. I am the first to grant my gift. I am always spying to find out if the creature is about to perform an act to give my will in that act. Thus, the creature, seeing the great gift I give him, will give me the small gift of his will. With this gift of my will that I give in this way in all the acts of the creature receives a new act of divine life, and je la fais renaître dans cette vie divine qu'elle acquiert. Et tandis qu'elle est formée dans cette vie divine. Je n'attends pas et je lui fais immédiatement le don de monde vouloir. De cette manière, en faisant monde don et en voulant recevoir celui de la creature, je crée l'alternance de vie de la creature. In el resent la croissance et la renaissance continuelle de sa vie dans le divin. Ce don que je fais est grand. That when I am about to do so, the heavens are stunned and bow respectfully to worship such a great gift and praise their Creator for so much generosity. And all are attentive to be spectators of how this gift develops in the act of the creature. And witnesses of the new rebirth of the creature in the divine life, they shudder at the sight of the great prodigy of the reborn creature. To a new divine life every time this gift of my will is bestowed. And, oh! How they thank me for so much kindness! Because everyone feels happier seeing this gift of my will operating in the act of the creature. It can be said that in this exchange of wills, in this reciprocal gift, a marriage takes place between the soul and God. It is always new. And when there is marriage, everyone celebrates the newlyweds and sings the praises of the Creator. Because I don't just donate my fiat, but with this gift, I give my life which forms the bond of inseparability. What is the substance of a true marriage between the human and the divine? Oh! Immense ingratitude! of whoever does not receive this gift of my will in his deeds. Especially seeing my haste to want to grant it to them. I pray to them and implore them to receive it. Very often I strive to create new incidents, unexpected circumstances in order to have new opportunities to donate my fiat more often. And when I see that they do not accept it, I feel my love enterprise turn into sorrow. I can say that heaven weeps with me. Because when my will acts in the act of the creature, the heavens are involved in my will. And all celebrate if my will is accepted, or they suffer if it is rejected. Therefore, be careful. I want nothing in your little acts other than the continual exchange of acceptance. The gift of my will and the gift of yours. In everything you do, that you pray, that you suffer, work, in everything. Oh! How you will make me happy! I will be on the lookout for your act, that he may have the requirements of an act worthy of my divine will. I felt totally invested in the divine will. I felt it throbbing in my little soul. His heavenly and balsamic air formed in me a sky. I felt happiness from above. I even felt happier than the citizens of heaven. Pars tu ilsnont pa le don diun act de la divine volante. Cum act concurrent. As a new birth in God. They have only the gift of celebration and praise, but not that of conquest. Me, on the other hand, I can make new conquests. I can include in my act an operating divine will. As my mind wandered, my sweet Jesus surprised me and said to me, "Blessed girl! I want to give you the reason why I want that the creature receives the gift of my will in all his deeds, and that she gives me her will every time. Because if there was exchange in one act and not in another, in the one where there is no exchange, a void would be formed in the soul, and this emptiness would be filled with miseries, weaknesses, and passions. In doing so, the divine life remains broken, as if detached. Therefore true rebirths cannot occur because they would lack it. Food. The main matter of the continual act of my fiat which forms its new births in God. Even more, without the continual act of my will, it is impossible to receive His great gifts and His great goods that amaze heaven and earth. Hearing this, I say, tell me, my love, why are you so interested to want the will of the creature and to give yours? Jesus says, you want to know why? Because by taking the will of the creature, I put it in safety. By giving mine, I grasp it from all sides and I place my life safely in the creature. There is nothing and no one where my will does not have its bonds of reign and conservation. Thus I feel the happy creature with me in all and in all things. And then I can say in fact and not in words, what is mine is yours, and I have done everything for you. With this, my purpose is realized. The creature, which is my creative work, is no longer a cause for concern because it is no longer in danger. Since my divine will makes it the seat in its infinite space. Thus, there is only to enjoy this creature and to make each other happy with a happiness never interrupted by any of us. That is why I will have no rest. Then when I see the creature invested with the gift of my fiat, I am constantly on the lookout. Because I know that his will can betray us. Therefore, I have to use stratagems and love endeavors. I always have to be at work. Ilny pas de repos pour moi. Par contre. Lorsque la volonté de la creature est en monde pouvoir et. Lorsque ma volonté est au pouvoir de la creature, je me repose quant à sa destinée. Ilny a plus de danger. Etsij ver un échange continuel entre la creature et moi, c'est pour avoir l'occasion d'agir, de pouvoir parler et de poursuivre une douce conversation. Je veux toujours donner de ce qui est à moi. Je me sers du prétexte de vouloir l'échange de la volonté de la creature, afin de pouvoir lui redonner ma volonté. Mais la volonté de la creature était déjà men et ma volonté était déjà celle de la creature. Seulement, en donnant de nouveau ma volonté, j'ajoute de nouvelles vies divines et de graces surprenantes. Therefore, I always want you in my will. We can then be assured that you will always be with me and me with you. My abandonment in the Fiat continues. Today is Christmas and I spent the night without seeing the heavenly child. I was heartbroken to be without the one who forms my life and my whole. Oh! Live without him. It is like living without being alive, tortured, without strength and without support. This is the most terrible death for my poor soul. In anxiety and fear, I prayed to the Supreme Being to reveal the one who loved me so much and formed my harsh martyrdom. Oh, at that moment, an immense light that filled heaven and earth delighted my mind. What a wonder! I saw the divine child being reborn in everything created and in every heart. The child Jesus was everywhere multiplied, duplicated. Born again in an infinite way, in everything and in all. Therefore, everything and everyone had the good to feel the birth of the heavenly child. Oh! How beautiful it was to see it so small, small. In the sun. In the stars. In all elements. In all creatures. All in all things. Sang his praises and had the great honor. The immense good of his birth and possessed the sweet security of having the child Jesus for himself. Thus, in wonder and amazement, I saw that Jesus was born even in me. I wanted to sigh and ardently hug him and he allowed me to do it. He was even happy and tenderly, he said to me, "My daughter! Love me, love me! I was born to love and be loved. In order to act in God, my birth had to be universal. I would not have acted in God if I had not been born universally so that everyone could say, 'The heavenly child was born for me. It is mine,' and this is so true that I already possess it. My love would have been prevented if I had not been able to be born in all. My power would be limited. My immensity would be lost if my rebirth were not universal. This should come as no surprise. Just as my divinity filled heaven and earth. By incorporating himself into my little humanity, my divinity was multiplied and duplicated in such a way that it was reborn in all things and in all beings. These are the divine and infinite ways we have so that everyone can take the good we do and to be filled with our works. Et plus encore, ayant vendu ciel sur la terre, je voulais prendre chair afin glorifier parfaitement le Père Céleste et compenser pour ce que chaque homme n'avait pas fait. C'est pourquoi ma petite humanité voulait renaître en chaque chose créée, parce que l'homme ne nous avait pas donné la gloire, l'échange d'amour. Pour avoir créé le ciel, le soleil, et tant d'autres choses. Et monde humanité ayant né de nouveau en elles. Glorifié complètement monde céleste Père pour tout l'œuvre de la création. L'homme, en rejetant ma divine volonté, était devenu impuissant en tout. Je venais afin d'être son sauveur. Pour réparer, défendre et le glorifier. Jelai recovered du vêtement de monde humanite pour le mettre en sécurité et jai répondre de lui pour tout devant monde Père Céleste. Monde amour était tel que ma divinité, pour donner libre cours à monde amour. Ma amin en nature en chaque cœur et en chaque chose. Cela est vrai que les premières choses venues. Pour me reconnaître et pour chanter mes louanges furent les choses créées. Because, feeling in them my birth, they were celebrating and they rejoiced. But do you know in which hearts there is celebration when I was born? In those who possess my divine will and immediately recognize that I was born in their hearts. There is an eternal feast in them for me. The others, on the other hand, make me cry, make me suffer. While sinning, they prepare the knife to hurt and kill me. I then remained totally immersed in his love. By virtue of the moving scene of the celestial child born so universally and in everyone, I could understand many things. It is better to go through them silently because, not knowing how to explain them, I could say nonsense. In order to celebrate the heavenly child, I surrendered myself totally in the divine will. He came back again. He was so graceful, of such rare beauty, and no one can be like him. He locked himself in my heart as the place of his birth. He was all love, and he repeated in me his infantile tears, his moans, and his sobs of love. How moving it was to see him sometimes crying, sometimes sobbing, and sometimes moaning. With the army of his tears, with the stratagems of his sobs and the prayers of his groans, his rebirth was in all and in all things. In this way, he was the kidnapper who, with the strength of a god he possessed, fascinated hearts and penetrated into them to form in them his new birth. Oh! Heavens, bow down with me, love and worship the heavenly child. But my mind was lost in this great mystery when my sweet child, between his tears and sobs interspersed with a heavenly smile, added, "My blessed daughter, being God, it could not be otherwise. My birth was not only universal, but I was also in the same condition as the sun. Like it or not, everything created and every creature receives from the sun the light and warmth of its imperious light. With the same supremacy that I possess over everything and over all. The sun seems to say in its silent language, which is stronger than if it spoke. Where you receive me with love, where I will invest you with the right I have to give you light. And if you do not want to receive me, I will surround you in such a way that you will not be able to flee my light. And I will have the great glory of having given everyone the light. The sun is the symbol of my birth. He too is reborn every day for everything and for all. I am not only universally reborn, but when I am reborn, I invade. When I am reborn in the heart, I invade. The mind with my thoughts. Eyes with my tears, the voice with my moans. De cette façon, je fais une invasion universelle de toutes les creatures. Je les prends de tous côtés jusqu'à ce qu'elles ne puissent plus fuir. Asterisk sils me recoivent avec amour. Non seulement ma vie n'est en elles. Mais elles grandit de façon surprenante. Asterisk sils ne me recoivent pas avec amour. Je renais en elles avec les droits d'un Dieu que je possède. But I'm not growing. I stay small, and I'm like in reserve waiting for my moans and tears to induce them to love me. And if I don't succeed, then my life turns into justice for them. Oh! How tortured my little heart is to see my birth, which is all love, changed to justice for the poor creatures. Therefore, since I was born in you, allow me to grow so that my moans and tears turn into joy. I made my rounds in creation in order to follow the acts of the divine will. It seemed to me that everything created paved the way for. Receive my act. Court him, and give him the exchange of the divine will, which she owned as an actress and curator. I was doing this when the heavenly little child made his brief visit to me and said, "My daughter, whoever does the divine will, by doing his deeds, pours into her. There is not a particle of his being that does not take its place in the supreme will. As everything is enclosed in my will. All that God has created. Everything he has done and will do. Everything is poured into the act of the creature as in a single act, so that this act is filled, embellishment and circled by all that my will has done and will do. So much so that you can see all the divine acts impregnated, merged and surrounded in the act of the creature. When my will acts in our divinity as well as in human acts, it does not know or want to detach itself from the human act. She, on the contrary, unites the two and forms the new act it wants to perform. It can be said that our entire divine being with all his deeds pours out on the creature. We hide and lock ourselves in the creature, while remaining what we are in our immensity and our endless power. But our happiness is redoubled on the part of the creature, because it has given us the opportunity to duplicate our lives with our actions. Et nous recevons la gloire, l'honneur, l'amour de notre vie et nos actes memes de la part de celle qui permet d'être posté par notre volonté. C'est ce qui s'est passé avec elle et solil qui, de la hauteur de sa sphere, se donne à la terre. Il semble ne donner que sa lumière, mais c'est pas vrai. Il donne avec sa lumière tout ce que il possède. Cela est vrai que tu peux voir la terre recouverte d'une variété de couleurs, de gouttes et de savas. Qui a donné tant de but, de substance, et autant de couleurs? La lumière? Ah! Non. C'est parce que la lumière a donné. La substance. The properties that light, the sun, possesses. It can be said that the earth is enriched, embellished by the properties that the sun possesses. But as the sun gives, it loses nothing of what it possesses. Oh! If the sun could reason, how it would feel happier and glorified by the great good it gives to the earth. Reproducing our lives and actions in our beloved creature is a joy for us. And we taste the greatness of the creature that gave us the field. To make use of our communicative power and to reproduce ourselves in it. And I, hearing this, I said to myself, and if there is sin, passions, how can the creature receive this great good? Jesus added, Blessed girl, when the soul is at the mercy of my will, it has the virtue of losing the life of evil. There is no sin or passion that does not feel this mortal blow. They die their own death. When my will reigns in the soul, they feel their lives go away. As for evil, my will is like the ice that makes plants wilt, dry out and die. It is like light for darkness which, when light appears, disappear and die. In fact, no one knows where they left off. My will is like heat for cold. Cold dies under the virtue of heat. If ice, light, and heat can cause plants to die, darkness and cold, my will has even more virtue of killing all evil. At most, if the soul does not allow to be always dominated by my will, then, where my will does not always reign, it cannot communicate all goods and convert everything into divine life. And where divine life is lacking, this is where evil arises. What happens to plants can happen when the force of the ice is removed. Although tired, they begin to turn green again. If the light is removed, the darkness is back, and if the heat is removed, the cold returns. That is why there is a great need to always do my will and to always live in her if you want. Be able to banish all evil and eradicate even the roots of your passions. Even more, my divine will always wants to give to the creature, but in order to give, he is on the lookout to see how much the creature is acting in my will. Because for every act done in my will, the creature acquires a divine right. Thus, the acts performed by the creature are all rights acquired in the sea of my fiat. My will acquires the same number of rights over the creature. These rights on both sides make God and the creature owners. And my will split and enclosed in the soul, according to what the creature is able to hold, takes the creature into the immense sea of his will that reigns in God. My will wants always give and always increase the capacity of the creature. It takes from the sea of my will and enlarges the small sea of will in the depths of the soul. It can be said that it makes the soul a small boat in order to go and to turn in the immense sea of his will. And to the extent that the soul is disposed and acts, my will in turn encloses new doses of divine will. Therefore, I always want you in my will so that you give me the right to always be able to give you, and you to always be able to receive. Fiat. As usual, I was touring all over creation to meet the dominant divine will and give it the exchange of love for having created so many things for me with great love. It seemed to me that everything created was waiting to receive the seal of my I love you. It was a right, a tribute, a small sign expected from the earth for this will that had given so much to all creatures and who was for them both the one who acts and who preserves. But in doing so, it seemed to me that my sweet Jesus himself took with his hands my I love you and placed it as a seal on these created things. He would then set them aside, where I would tell him, so that he could continue his intense activity of putting the I love you on all the other things created. And I marveled at the interest of Jesus waiting patiently. I thought to myself, but what can my little I love you have so important to come to preoccupy and interest Jesus? And he stopped a little to talk to me and said, my blessed daughter, do you know what your I love you is? It is like punctuation in a document. The confusion is so great in a document without punctuation between ideas and expressions that the one who reads it, seeing no meaning in it, interprets it in his own way, which can be beautiful or detestable. And yet, what is a period, a comma, a question mark and all the other punctuation marks? It's nothing compared to the work of writing a single character. This is your I love you. It is the punctuation in the writing of your life, your words, your works, your steps, and even your heart. Punctuation of your I love you. Put order in all your actions. Replaces ideas. Gives the most beautiful expression and make you know the one who out of love formed the page and the character of your life. But that's not all. This point, this little comma of your I love you, rises high and punctuates our divine pages, our celestial characters of all creation. What is creation? Isn't this the divine page out of us? With our celestial characters printed on this page of creation, which was punctuated with so much order and harmony, with the right ideas, with the most beautiful and moving expressions, written with so much artistic value that no artist can imitate. Tun jetmas unit a la punctuation divine. En punctuant, il reconnaît la valeur de nos caractères. Il apprend à lire notre page. Il comprend avec les idées justes tout ce que nous avons fait par amour. Il recueille les plus belles et les plus émouvantes expressions de son créateur. Il nous donne le petit tribut. Il compense avec cette petite richesse que nous, avec l'amour de la justice, nous attendons des creatures. Plus encore, ton jetma possède la vertu naturelle d'être converti en bien. Je prends, moi, avec un amour total, les points et les virgules de tes. Jetma. Je place ta petite lumière sur notre divine punctuation. Et regardant tout la création, je ressens un amour intense and voyant dans la punctuation céleste celle de la petite fille de notre vouloir. Mais dis-moi, ma fille, pourquoi me dis-tu jetma et pourquoi veux-tu revêtir toutes les choses crises de ton jetma? Et moi, parce que jetma et que je veux être aimé par toi. Et Jesus, par consequent, tu dis jetma parce que tu m'aimes. Isn't my greatest happiness, sighs, expectations and delusions to be loved by creatures? Don't you know that with each I love you I whisper in the ear of your heart, I love you, and that I place the celestial punctuation on the page and characters of your life? Aren't you happy? And me, my love, no, it's not enough. I'm not happy with just your punctuation. My punctuation may be enough for you. Because I am small and good for nothing, I do not know how to do anything else. But you know how to do everything. To make me happy, I want you to form my page and the characters of my life. Jesus. Yes, yes, I want to make you happy. I can tell you that's what I do. Know then that to write a page, you need paper, ink, a pen, all the material necessary to have a written page. If only one thing is missing, writing cannot come to life. Now, paper is my divine will, which as the foundation of all things must form the page of life. You should know that more than paper, my will has extended as the foundation of all creation, in order to receive the divine characters of unceasing love, in which we pour out our qualities and divine works, which are more than indelible characters. In the same way, the soul must possess my divine will as the foundation of all things. But that's not enough. It also requires an incessant love, in order to form the ink to be able to write on this light paper. But paper and ink are not enough to form the characters. It is also necessary the pen of holy works, the variety of sacrifices and the circumstances of life. To form the pen and be able to write characters that are beautiful and orderly as well as moving expressions that sometimes cause tears and then fill the heart with joy. In this way, whoever is able to read them will feel transformed and he will receive the life of the good that this page possesses. And I, the divine author and writer, when I find paper, ink, and pen, just as I formed and wrote the page of creation, with immense delight, I strive to form and write the page of the creature, perhaps even more beautiful than creation. Therefore, always hold ready the paper, the ink, and the pen. I promise you to write the page of your life where all can be seen what I alone have formed and written. Thus, you will remain happy, and so will I. Having received Holy Communion, I was doing my usual thanksgiving, so I saw Jesus, my immense good, afflicted and taciturn, as if he needed companionship. I approached him and tried to console him by always being united with him so that I would never leave him alone. Jesus sembla trace el et pour epenker sa pain, il me dit. Ma fille, sois moi fidèle et ne me quitte pas, car la souffrance de la solitude est toujours la plus oppressante parce que la compagnie est le soutien et le help from the one who suffers. Without a company, the suffering is hard because of the absence of the one who could relieve his pain or even offer him a bitter remedy. My daughter, how many souls receive me sacramentally in their hearts and leave me alone? I am in them as in a desert, as if I did not belong to them. They treat me as a stranger. But do you know why they don't take part? To my life, to my virtues, to my holiness, to my joys and sufferings? Because keeping someone company means participate in all that the person who is near, does and suffers. Therefore, receiving myself and not taking part in my life is for me the most bitter of solitudes. Remaining alone, I cannot tell them what love I am burning for them. My love then remains isolated, as well as my holiness, my virtue, and my life. It is only loneliness inside and outside of me. Oh! How often I descend into hearts and cry because I find myself alone. And I see that I am not cared for, that I am neither appreciated nor loved. So much so that I am constrained, because of their indifference, to be silenced and saddened. And since they do not take part in my sacramental life, I feel set apart in their hearts. And seeing that I have nothing to do with divine and unwavering patience, I await the consumption of divine species in which my eternal Fiat had imprisoned me, leaving barely any trace of my descent. I could not leave anything of my sacramental life, barely a few tears, because these souls do not participate in my life. They lacked the void where I could have left things which relate to me and that I wanted to place in common with them. So there are many souls who receive me sacramentally and who have nothing to give me that belongs to me. They are sterile of virtue, of love, of sacrifice. Poor things, they feed on me. But since they don't keep me company, they continue to be hungry. Oh! To what suffering and martyrdom my sacramental life is subjected! I often feel suffocated by the amour. I would like to be free and I sigh to descend into these hearts. But, alas, I am forced to leave them more suffocating than before. How can I pour out my love if no one pays attention to the flames that burn me? Other times, floods of pain flood me. I sigh after a heart that will relieve me of my suffering, but in vain. These souls want me to participate in their suffering, and I do. I hide my sufferings in my tears to console them, and I stand there without the relief I hope. But who can tell you all the sufferings of my sacramental life? Those who receive me and leave me in bitter solitude are more numerous than those who keep me company in their hearts. And when I find a heart that keeps me company, I communicate my life to it and leave the deposit there of my virtues, the fruit of my sacrifices and the participation of my life. And I make this soul my home, my refuge, and the secret place of my sufferings. And I feel the exchange of the sacrifice of my Eucharistic life because I find the one that breaks my loneliness, dries my tears, gives me the freedom to pour out my love and my sorrows. These are the ones that serve me as living species. Not as sacramental species that give me nothing and only hide me when I do the rest myself. They don't even say a word to interrupt my loneliness. They are mute species. On the other hand, in the souls that serve me as living species, we develop our lives together. We have only one heart beating, and if I feel that the soul is disposed to it, I communicate to it my sufferings and I continue my passion in this soul. I can say that from sacramental species, I pass to living species in order to continue my life on earth, no longer alone, but with this soul. You must know that suffering is no longer in my power and that out of love, I ask these souls who are living species to give me what I lack. Therefore, my daughter, when I find a heart that loves me and keeps me company by giving me the freedom to do what I want, I come to excesses. I don't pay attention to anything anymore. Gives as long as the poor creature feels flooded with my love and graces. That is why my sacramental life no longer remains sterile when I descend into these hearts, no, because I reproduce there, I duplicate myself and continue my life in them. And these souls are my conquerors who administer their lives to this poor man. Needy and who tell me, my love, you had your turn to suffer and now it is mine. Therefore, allow me to replace you and suffer in your place. So, oh, how happy I am! My sacramental life retains its place of honor because it reproduces other lives in creatures. That's why I always want you with me in order that we can live together. Let you take my life to heart, and I take it to heart. I was thinking about the divine will and a host of thoughts were invading my mind, and I thought, I wonder why Jesus is so interested in my will to give me his in exchange? I am the one who benefits from it. By having a divine will in my power, I possess and enclose everything within me, and even God himself. But the most amazing thing is that in exchange for all this, he wants my will. What good can this weak and insignificant will be used for, which can only produce more harm than good? It is obvious that Jesus does not understand the exact value of what he gives compared to what he receives in exchange. As long as he gets what he wants, he does not take into account the fact that it is little or nothing compared to the value of what he has given. But this is where we see that this love is true love. My mind was immersed in this nonsense when I saw Jesus listening carefully to my idiocies. He seemed happy and said to me, "My blessed daughter, I would never have anything to give to the creature if I had to consider that it can give me something, because to begin with, everything a creature can give me has already been given to it by me. Also, by giving me, she can give me nothing but what is mine. Therefore, my love always makes me act without taking into account. To hold account with creatures would be to restrict my love and lose the freedom to freely give what I want to creatures. That would be difficult. Moreover, to give you my divine will it is necessary that you give me yours because two wills cannot reign in one heart. They would be at war and your will would be an obstacle to mine that would not be free to do what she wants. And I, so that my will may be free, I always insist that you give me yours. But that's not all. You must know that your will is weak, insignificant, but when it comes into my creative and transforming hands, it changes its appearance. I make it powerful, I give it life, I put in it the merit that produces good and I use it so as not to leave it idle. I become the heavenly gardener who works in the field of your will and I make it a magnificent field of flowers and the garden of my delights. So that what is insignificant in your hands and perhaps even harmful, changes its nature in my hands and becomes useful to me by giving me the pleasure of making it a small lot of land at my disposal and that I can bloom. Thus, in order to be able to give, I want what is small and insignificant, even as a pretext to be able to give what is great and to be able to say, "This soul gave me and I gave it in exchange." It's true that she gave me little, but that's all she had. And to give up for me what little she has, it is for me the greatest of the gifts and I then entrust everything to the exuberance of my love by giving the creature all that it lacks. After which I continued to think of the divine will and strove to follow his actions when my beloved Jesus said to me, "My blessed daughter, as you strive to follow the deeds of my divine will, you turn to her and my Fiat comes to meet you to receive you. Give his actions and make them one with yours. And I receive the sweet surprise of your attention and the enchantment of your love. I never lose sight of you. I then witness the most moving scene of your nothingness in the all, of your little being in the great, of the finite in the infinite, alternating between God and the creature. And in this exchange, one is consumed in the other out of pure love. You must know that when we brought the creature into the light of day, we gave him the dowry and the trousseau of our divine particles. The dowry is our will. It is not limited, we give him the freedom to increase his dowry. The acts you perform in our will are new properties that you acquire. In addition to those that your Creator has given you, in the excess of our love, we say to the creature, the more deeds you perform in our will, the greater the divine field that we will give you to place your deeds in. In this way, you will work in our celestial field and we will give you a field of the greatness you want. Make sure it is not sterile and be attentive to your work, because we will be happy to see that you expand your field. We are like a father who gives a dowry to his son. This son works and sacrifices himself so well that he increases his dowry and that it always enlarges its properties. And the father is delighted to see these properties and his son's fortune as if they were his own. We do the same thing. And even more. When we see that the creature is attentive, ready to make any sacrifice, we do not leave it alone and we work together. We lend her everything she needs. Will, holiness, our deeds, everything. In order to rejoice when we see our daughter owning so much property. Fiat. I was thinking about the many truths that my adorable Jesus manifested to me about the divine will and, oh, how many surprises, joys, and emotions flood my mind about these truths. They seemed to descend from heaven all ordered to fill the earth. Their intense activity was to form a path within themselves in order to make us return to these truths, and then surround the creatures so that they would not come out. And my heavenly Jesus, visiting my poor soul, said to me, my little girl of my will, you must know that every truth I manifested about my divine will was just another way of approaching the creature. When our Supreme Being spoke, he was one step closer to the creatures. He placed one more divine particle at their disposal, and he traced new bonds of union and love. Our word is always a birth that comes out of us. It is our word that descends from heaven, in search of our creature after whom we sigh. And our sacrosanct Trinity, attracted by the power of the word which is inseparable from us, makes its way. And step by step we are getting closer to the one to whom our word has reached. You must know that when we decide to manifest a truth through our word, it is a part of us that comes out of us. Then our Supreme Being takes on an unusual aspect. A new joy invests us. It comes out of us a communication of new beatitudes. The whole sky, seeing our unusual appearance, is already realizing that we are about to release a new word of truth. Because the first to celebrate these words are the three divine persons, and then the whole sky with us. These truths are the gifts of the great King, who knows how to move and invest everything. This is our word, which has a creative, invigorating and transforming virtue, and which sometimes grabs, crushes, and shatters everything. And on the ruins, it makes the life rise of our word and it forms the most beautiful things, a new creation. These magnificent works amaze heaven and earth. What can our Fiat do? He can do anything. And what will the chain do with so many of our Fiats? Our Fiat transformed into a word of truth possesses an invincible virtue, an inexpressible power, an immutable firmness in the good that he wants to form in the power of my Fiat that speaks. You don't want to understand the great gift, the great good that only one word of divine truth contains, but in time, you will understand. When you see the actions, the works that my truths have produced. My truths have the power not only to attract and carry our divine being, to go to the creatures and often even to run after them, but they also give graces that allow the creatures to move forward and to run to the one who comes to them to give them the great good that my Fiat has pronounced. Our truths are powerful when they come out of our divine being. Because if they go out, they want to give the life and good they possess. And in the meantime, they want to arrange the creatures to approach the source from which they came in order to transform them into the good of this truth. It is then as if a new truth is coming out of us. At most time, centuries can pass, and this is nothing because our truths are armed. Not only of power, but of an invincible and divine patience. They don't get tired of waiting. They are tireless and inflexible. They must first give the good, the life they possess. Then, triumphant and victorious, bring back to heaven the fruits of their conquests. Therefore, my daughter, be careful to listen to my truths. You must first think about where they come from, who sends them to you, the good they want to do to you, the life they have and the steps taken by God and creatures to approach them. And do not doubt because you do not see the effects in the world, the good and the life that my truths possess. Time will take care of everything and say everything. As for you, for now, participate and Jesus will take care of everything else. In addition, you must know that we must first form the place in the soul where our truths can descend, and then we decide to bring them out of our paternal womb. For in bringing out of our Supreme Being those truths that must be converted into works for creatures, we do not leave them hanging in the air and idle. No, our wisdom never does useless things. If we bring them out, they must be carriers of the good they contain. That is why there must be the place where our goodness can direct them so that they immediately begin their intense activity of participation and transformation of the good they possess, even if in the beginning it is only in one soul. Etn suite, els se diffusent si bietuels forment de armes de creatures du bien que nos verités possident. Et lors quels auront ces nobles armes, els transporteront nos verités dans leur sen vers notre celeste patrie. It is the conquerors who will populate the sky. They are like messengers who roam the earth, sow the seed, work it, gather the harvest and, to make it safe, take it to the celestial regions. They are tireless and never stop until they have achieved their goal. Therefore, be attentive and do not transgress anything that your Jesus taught you. I continued my actions in the divine will and felt a powerful force that overwhelmed me, unified me, and identified me with divine works. I could say that my being was so diminished that I felt lost in the immense sea that overflowed inside and outside of me. Its eternal waves lifted and overwhelmed me and I felt the divine life more than mine. And my ever-kind Jesus, the one who overthrows you and then raises you up, gives you death and at the same time makes you reborn to a new life, visiting his little daughter, said to me, "My blessed daughter, our love is exuberant and the more we give the more we want to give to creatures. Our love, by giving, overflows everywhere and wants to drown creatures with love, holiness, beauty, light, and goodness. The more we give, the more our passion for loving them and being loved increases. You must know that our Supreme Being possesses by nature the creative power, the redemptive virtue and the life that revives and sanctifies all things. Now, in creation, we acted alone, without the creature. But after creating it, our love for it was so great that we wanted to continue developing the creature with nature. And if we keep creation, it is as if we are still in the act of creating. This creative force unifies and invests souls, and continues creation within each of them. And what do we create? New heavens of love, new suns of knowledge, new seas of graces, a new air of holiness, new fresh wines that perfume the creature, an ever-growing new life in our divine will, magnificent new flowers, holy desires. In short, the echo of everything in creation. Our creative virtue reverberates in souls, with a wisdom and goodness that belongs only to us. We always create without ever stopping. If creation were to cease, which cannot be done, we would have to restrict our creative nature. But with all this, our divine greatness is lowered, we descend into the depths of the creatures and we develop with them our creative virtue. We don't want to act alone. Loneliness would tear away our arms and limit our creative power and virtue. In order to be able to love more, we have formed in ourselves a law of love and we have created in ourselves the need to love. Love is thus in us a necessity. but a desired necessity that is not imposed by anyone. And it is this need for love that makes us do so many incredible things. He makes us indulge in excesses and follies towards creatures. It would have been absurd and contrary to a perfect being, which we are, to create living things and beings without loving them. We start by loving them, and then we let things go with our love as our first act. We bring them to light as a birth, an outpouring, and a triumph of our love. If this were not the case, creation would have been an unbearable burden and not an object of glory and honor. Things you don't like go away. But we love creatures so much that we lock ourselves in them as voluntary prisoners in order to form in them our divine life and fill them with ourselves to the extent that they can contain us. And to love creatures even more and be loved by them, we want the creature to know our love and we want his company in order to see and touch what we operate and how we want our divine life in his soul. Our love has no rest and according to the layout, cooperation and the needs of the creature, we develop sometimes our creative power, sometimes our redemptive force, and sometimes our sanctifying force, but always in concert with the creature, never alone. We want to use creative virtue, but we want the creature to know and receive it. We want to use redemptive virtue if sin tyrannizes it, but we want to that the creature feels the good we want to give and that she receives it with love and gratitude. We want to use sanctifying virtue, but we want it to lend itself to receive the transformation of our holy acts into his own deeds, to receive our sanctifying virtue. If the soul does not stay with us and unite its small intense activity with our great work, it would be for us as a development of our intense activity of love on inanimate things that feel nothing and know nothing of the great good they are receiving. And for them, it would be a distant God they don't know and love. You must know that our love is so great that all creatures are and swim in this immense sea of our love. And if we are not satisfied with such an immensity of love, our Supreme Being acts like a fisherman and seeks to fish a few drops of love from creatures. Small acts, small sacrifices and small sufferings endured out of love for us, or an I love you that comes from the bottom of my heart. We go fishing for everything that comes from our sea to have the satisfaction, happiness, and exchange of the love of the creature. We sigh so much after him that we make it our daily activity, and we prepare a plenteous feast for our heavenly table. True love has the virtue of transforming things. It of sweet enchantment to our divine students and make beautiful, graceful, and pleasant the small acts of love of creatures, in such a way that the creature captivates us, hurts us, and makes us happy. We allow us to be captivated by the most desired of conquests. Therefore, if you want to make us happy and be a bearer of joys and happiness for your God, then love, always love, and never cease to love us. And to be safer, lock yourself in the divine Fiat. It will not allow anything of what is love for your Creator to move away from you. My little mind was totally occupied by the many truths that my blessed Jesus had manifested to me about the divine will. Each presented herself to me as a divine prodigy, all distinct from each other, not from earth, but from heaven, and all in the act of indulging in the assault of the creature to communicate to it and transform it into their wonderful virtue, all celestial and divine. At the same time I said to myself, these are divine and heavenly truths, lovable, penetrating, filled with light and holiness, and in which there is not even the shadow of what is human. Yet, there are still some who by reading these truths would have doubts and difficulty. And you know it, O Jesus, for you know everything. I felt all oppressed and sighed at my sweet Jesus to tell him my sorrow. And he, surprising me, said to me, my good daughter, don't grieve because of this. You must know that in order to know a truth, you must love it. It is love that gives appetite. Appetite gives flavor, and flavor sharpens hunger to eat all it's drunk. And chew well the substance of the food that are precisely my truths. Chewing facilitates digestion so that possession of the great good one possesses is felt, and it produces my truth. Thus, the doubts and difficulties that arise melt like snow under the rays of a scorching sun. But if these truths have barely blossomed and have not been consumed by deep study and with a love that generates appetite, why be surprised that doubts and difficulties arise? Oh, Instead of judging these truths, it would have been better to say, "This food is not for us, we don't have the will to eat it." But it is well known that my truths find a place in simple hearts, rather than among scientists. This happened in my redemption. To my great sadness, none of the wise and intelligent followed me, but the poor, the ignorant, and the simple hearts came. You must know that my truths are seeds that I, the heavenly farmer, continue to sow in souls, and if I sow I am certain to reap the fruits. Often I am like the poor sower who throws his seed on the earth and, for lack of moisture, the earth is not able to consume the seed to absorb it and convert it into soil to get the substance out of the seed it has absorbed and produce 10, 20, or 100 times more. Other times, due to lack of rain, the earth has hardened and it does not find the substance and life contained in the seed. And the poor farmer must have patience if he wants to receive the harvest of his sowing. By spreading the seed, he has already done something, and he remains hopeful. Who knows, the rain could give moisture to the earth which, possessing the substance of the seed, would bring out what the farmer has planted. Or, by making the earth less hard, could stimulate it and give it the means to reproduce the seed. Thus, although the earth does not immediately produce the multiplicity of the seed it has received, time, circumstances and rain can produce an abundant harvest that the sower did not expect. Now, if the farmer, despite all the difficulties of the earth, can hope to receive an abundant harvest, I, the heavenly farmer, will be able to do much more after. To have sown so many seeds of heavenly truths in the depths of your soul, to fill the whole world with what I will reap. Do you want to believe that because of the doubts and difficulties of a few, which are like a moisture-free, hardened and dried earth, I wouldn't have a bountiful harvest? My daughter, you are wrong. Times, people, and circumstances will change, and what seems black today might look white tomorrow. Because very often things are seen according to the dispositions in which one finds oneself and according to the short or long-term vision that the intellect possesses. Poor creatures! They are well to complain about. But it's all in the fact that I've already sown. The most important, substantial, and interesting thing was to manifest my truth. If I have done my job, the main thing is already in action. I have found your land where to deposit the seed, the rest will follow. Doubts, difficulties, and sufferings will have the same utility as wood and fire for the farmer who prepares the harvest he has earned to make his food. In the same way, these doubts, difficulties, and sufferings are useful to you and me as sons that ripen my seeds in their hearts. Not just with words, but like wood and fire that, with the sacrifice of his own life, will prepare and convert this harvest into the sweetest of foods to feed the creatures. My daughter, when I came to earth, if I had taken into account of what was said about me and contradictions to the truths I manifested, I would not have formed my redemption or manifested my gospel. And yet, those who studied the scriptures and taught religion to the people were of the noble class and among the most learned. I let them speak. With love and invincible patience I endured their continual contradictions and the suffering they caused me. And it served me as wood to burn me and burn me on the cross out of love for them and for all. Even today, if I wanted to pay attention to what has been said about the truths of my divine will, I would have wanted to put an end to the manifestations and the purposes that I want to accomplish by manifesting them. But no, we do not suffer from mutability. Divine works are immutable. Man's works have this weakness. His actions depend on the appreciation of others, not ours. When we decide, nothing can move us, nor the creatures altogether, or even the whole of hell. But we await with inexhaustible love the times, circumstances, and people we will use for what we have established. Therefore, do not worry and adopt our divine ways. If necessary, offer the sacrifice of your life, to obtain that my divinity be known and reign throughout the world. My sweet Jesus kept silent and I continued to think of the impossibility of making the divine will reign on earth as in heaven. Jesus sighed and added, "My blessed daughter, what is impossible to men is possible to God." And if it were impossible for my will to reign on earth as in heaven, my total paternal goodness would not have taught the prayer of the Lord's Prayer. Why pray for impossible things? I wouldn't have been the first to recite it before so much love and before all the others. I would not have taught it to the apostles so that they could teach it to the whole world as the most beautiful and substantial prayer of my church. I don't want impossible things, nor do I ask for them from creatures. Therefore, if it were impossible for my divine will to reign on earth as in heaven, I would have taught a useless and ineffective prayer, and I do not know how to do useless things. At most, I wait, even for centuries, and I must wait until the prayer I taught bears fruit. Moreover, without anyone telling me, it is for free that I have given this great good that my will be done on earth as in heaven. As in creation, it was without being asked that I extended the heavens, created the sun and everything else. It is the same with my will when I said spontaneously, "Pray that my will be done on earth as in heaven." And when it is said spontaneously, "Pray that this will happen," without anyone asking me, it means that in my omniscience I have first considered everything and thought carefully about everything. Therefore, when I saw that this was possible, I decided to teach the Lord's Prayer, wanting the human will to unite with our own to ardently demand that our will reign on earth as well as in heaven. Thus, all that I have manifested about my will is contained in these words. May your will be done on earth as in heaven. These few words contain abysses of grace, holiness, light, communications, and divine transformations between the Creator and the creature. My daughter, this is the gift that I, your Jesus, have given to human generations in fulfillment of my redemption. My love was not yet satisfied. My sufferings did not bring me full satisfaction. I wanted to give and give again. I wanted to see my heaven on earth among my children. Consequently, a few days before ascending to heaven, I decided to give my will on earth as in heaven, and I taught the Lord's Prayer in which I established to make this gift. What your Jesus has established must be fully realized. Therefore, do not doubt, and if others want to doubt it, let them do it. What do they know about how things should happen? I have in my hands the power and the will, and that is enough. And you, dwell in peace and continue your flights. Trust your Jesus and you will see. My poor spirit was crossing the sea of the divine Fiat to the extent of its small capacity. I understood his value, his holiness, and the great prodigy of the fact that a creature who lives in him may contain such a holy and endless will. Thus becoming the bearer and possessor of this holy will that understands and encloses all things. There is no reason to be surprised when what is big contains what is small. But that what is small contains what is great is incredible thing. God alone is capable of such wonders. God's goodness, how admirable you are! You are more than a tender and loving mother who wants to get into the Son to make him safe and to see his life repeated in his child. Have the glory of being able to say, the Son is like his mother. But as my mind rejoiced in the pure joys of the divine Fiat, a sad storm afflicted my joys. And I understood the great evil and terrible offense done to God when we take the liberty of doing our will. And my beloved Jesus, repeating his brief visit, said to me bitterly, "My good daughter, human will. It is waging war on God. The weapons she uses against her Creator hurt her herself and her soul is torn to pieces before God. Every act of the human will separates it from its Creator, its holiness, its strength, its power, its love, and its immutability. Without my divine will, the creature becomes like a besieged city whose enemies force all the inhabitants to starve to death in torment. But with this difference. The executioner who tears his limbs apart is the will of the soul itself. It is not enemies that torment her, because she has become her own enemy. If you knew the pain I feel when I see souls torn to pieces. Every act of the human will is a division that the soul forms between her God and her. She withdraws from the beauty of her creation. She becomes frigid to pure and true love. It loses its origin and prepares for an anticipated hell if his will precipitates him into a grave sin. Or in purgatory if sin is light. The human will is like gangrene for the body. It has the virtue of tearing the flesh into pieces and distorting the beauty of the creature. Poor souls without my divine will. It alone possesses the unifying virtue. It unifies everything: thought, desire, affection, love and human will. It gives the creature the wonderful unifying form. On the other hand, without my will, thought wants one thing, will another, desire something else and affection something else. In such a way that they engage in a battle and, in confusion, they divide among themselves. Ah! There can be no peace or union without my will. It then lacks the one that places the cement uniting the divided parts and that makes the soul strong against the evils that arise. That is why your Jesus is only mourning the ruin of these souls. They are more overthrown than those of Jerusalem which, instead of recognizing its Messiah, did not welcome him and gave him death. My will not be recognized either. While she is among them and in them, they form in their soul small cities that are overthrown and they force me to repeat to them the threat that he will not remain stone by stone. Without my will, they are citadels without a king. Therefore, they have not no one to protect and defend them. No one to administer to them the food necessary to do good and no one to prevent them from getting entangled in evil. And I weep over their fate, and I pray that they recognize my will, that they love it, and allow it to reign. And you, pray with me. After which I followed the deeds that my Jesus had performed when he was on earth and prayed to him with all my heart that by virtue of his deeds he would make known to all his will. And following what he had done, my mind stopped in the act where my eternal love, Jesus, roamed the fields and rejoiced when he saw the flowers he picked from his creative hands. And I wanted to place my I love you on each of the flowers, so that they change into voices and flowers, who speak so that they can ask that his will be known and loved. Jesus made himself heard, and all goodness he added. Blessed girl, I want to tell you about my sorrows and the secret of my heart. You should know that the human will was the most piercing nail in my heart. I walked the paths and fields covered with flowers, the trees full of fruit, and I felt the joy of my creation. And these fields of flowers, more than flowers, symbolized the beauty, vitality, freshness, and wonderful expression of the creature, and I was in joy. But immediately the nail of human will made me see that they faded, and dried, bowed to their stems while dying, and their perfume turned into a foul smell while the fruits of the trees became safe and rotten, symbols of the evil to which the human will reduces the creature. My suffering was great and these flowers brought tears from my eyes, for I felt the nail of human will penetrate more intensely. And my pain is so intense that I wait for your I love you to ask me. May the good of my will and the evil of the human will be known, let mine be made that creatures despise theirs. Often I looked at the sky studded with stars and the sun majestically shining its light that dominated the whole earth. They were symbols from the sky of the soul and of the sun of my will which was to shine in this sky so that its light was to dominate the sky of the soul and the beautiful flowery earth of his body. And my heart leapt with joy. But, oh! That these moments were brief. Immediately, the rain of human will arose to form black clouds, laden with thunder and lightning and hiding the sun. They erased the beautiful spectacle of a serene sky. Raining down on the poor creature, they devastated the sky of the soul and the earth of its body, sowing desolation and horror everywhere. I can say that when I came to earth, I did not take a step without being pierced by the nail of human will. From the moment of my birth to the moment of my death, the human will formed the hardest and most continuous of martyrs, for it transformed into ugliness my most beautiful creative work. And I, in all that I have done and suffered, I always had in mind the human will to make it safe. And, oh! How much I love the creature who calls for my deeds, unites with me, and on the fire of my very sacrifice and my love sacrifices herself to obtain the great good that my will be known and that it dominates the human will, the source of all the evils of the poor creature. Therefore, I always want you with me. Never leave me alone so that I can repeat my life in you. Let us give thanks to God.